Hey, what's up, guys? Here we are back with another one. Uh, earlier we were hitting on the state of Illinois and the stuff around here, and I brought up the Big Muddy Monster, Murfreesboro being the home of the Big Muddy Monster. So, I found a video where they speak a little bit on it. Uh, I guess there's more than just one myth for Illinois cryptids. In case you don't know what a cryptid is. It's a unproven creature, right? A mythical creature. I believe that's correct. I, I don't know. I ain't gonna try to act like I do either. But here we go.
Top 5 Cryptids of Illinois. Number 5. The Big Muddy Monster.
Miss Vicky, how you doing tonight?
The Big Muddy Monster is an intriguing entity that has become an integral part of the folklore of the state of Illinois. This creature, often compared to Bigfoot, and indeed I personally think it probably is an albino Bigfoot, has been the subject of countless accounts, speculations, and investigations. As we look into the story of the Big Muddy Monster, we will explore its origins, various sightings, its cultural impact, and the ongoing debates surrounding its existence. The legend of the Big Muddy Monster originated in the town of Murfreesboro, Illinois. The creature takes its name from the Big Muddy River that flows near the town. The first reported sightings of the creature came about in the summer of 1973, when local residents began reporting encounters with an enormous, hair-covered beast with a terrifyingly foul stench. These accounts described the creature as standing over 7 feet tall, with muddy, white hair and a lumbering gait.
Now, would you believe me if I told you? Don't get it twisted. I've never seen this creature, but I do know someone who claims to have seen this creature, and it was down at Riverside Park at the boat ramp. And he was a young teenager back then, and he was with a girl, and they were kind of, sneaking around, maybe doing. I think they might have been drinking, kind of fooling around in the car. And this creature comes up, and like I don't remember exactly the details. Something about he let out a roar and put its weight on the front of the car and shifted the whole car, and like the cops got involved. Uh, Cops got scared. They found some footprints in the mud. I don't. This here. I'm sure this is going to tell more about it.
The first documented encounter took place on June 25, 1973, when a young couple parked their car near a boat ramp along the Big Muddy River in Murfreesboro. They heard a loud scream and saw a huge, hairy creature covered in mud approaching them. They described it as about 7 feet tall, with white hair and glowing pink eyes. They quickly drove away and reported the incident to the police. The officers who investigated the scene found large footprints and a foul odor, but no sign of the monster. On July 7, 1973, 2 teenagers were having a picnic near the same boat ramp when they heard a rustling in the bushes. They spotted a similar creature as the one seen by the couple, only this time it had dark brown hair and red eyes. It also had long arms and a barrel-shaped chest. The teens ran to their car and drove to the police station. The police returned to the site with a trained sniffer dog, but the dog refused to follow the trail of the monster. The police also noticed that the creature had left behind a slime-like substance on the ground. Following these first encounters, several other sightings were reported in quick succession throughout the summer. The accounts were strikingly consistent, with individuals independently describing a similar creature with the same distinctive smell. The local police department, led by then-Chief Toby Berger, launched an investigation into these sightings but was unable to determine the creature's identity or origin. The Big Muddy Monster quickly became a local legend in Murfreesboro and the surrounding areas. The creature was incorporated into local folklore and became a popular subject for local storytellers and enthusiasts of the paranormal. The town now hosts an annual Big Muddy Monster Brew Festival, where attendees enjoy local craft beers and share stories about the creature. Additionally, the monster has been the subject of several documentaries and has been featured in various books on cryptids and folklore. Despite the flurry of sightings during the summer of '73, no solid evidence of the Big Muddy Monster's existence has ever been found. Those of us who have seen a Bigfoot could care less about the speculation, though. Skeptics argue that the sightings were the result of mass hysteria or misidentifications of known animals such as bears or large dogs that walk upright on account of them needing to take a long, pointy and painful poop. Some have even suggested that the entire affair was a hoax, orchestrated for publicity or amusement. It's silly how far some people, barring the wilderness of course, will go to explain away these creatures. However, believers point to the consistency of the reports and the genuine fear expressed by those who claim to have seen the creature. They also point out that large, unknown creatures have been discovered in the past, suggesting the possibility that an undiscovered species could exist in the remote areas around the Big Muddy River. The mystery of the Big Muddy Monster has also attracted the attention of cryptozoologists, who study creatures whose existence is disputed or unsubstantiated. Some cryptozoologists suggest that the Big Muddy Monster could be a type of Sasquatch, a creature from North American folklore that is said to inhabit forests, and not just in the Pacific Northwest. The tale of the Big Muddy Monster is a fascinating chapter in the folklore of Illinois. While the truth of the creature's existence remains shrouded in mystery, the story continues to captivate both locals and outsiders. Whether it was a genuine cryptid, which I'm certain it was, the legend of the Big Muddy Monster serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring appeal of the unknown and the unexplained in our culture. Number 4. Streeter Hobbit.
Before we go any further, I'm not sure about the rest of these. I haven't even pre-watched this thing, guys. I just seen that it's like the first one they were talking about the Big Muddy Monster in Murfreesboro, and I was like, you know what? This would be a cool one to pull up. So, like, the rest of these are all new to me, just like they're probably new to most of you. I mean, what do y'all think, man? You think it's even feasible? Is a creature of that nature a feasible thing? I mean, let me know. What's up? Is you is or is you ain't a believer? You know what I mean? Not me. Not myself. I'm not gonna say I'm a believer. I find the Big Muddy Monster fascinating. I find it intriguing, yeah. Like mysterious. It's always feasible, chaotic. I don't know. I just always thought it was something interesting. Like I said, like even they said in the video, where I live in this area, it's like it's just everybody knows about the Big Muddy Monster. You've heard, like, everybody's heard a story at least once or twice around here. Like the story about the guy and the chick at the boat ramp. I know those people. I used to work for that man. I ain't gonna give out his name because he doesn't like to talk about it. See, I found out about it after working with him, and his name was in the book, and I was like, "Hey, is this true?" And like, he does not like to talk about it. He says that the guy who wrote the book, uh, elaborate, he didn't tell the truth. That's not like everything that man said is not what the man who's seen it said. You think Mothman's real? Chaotic? Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Maybe I'll find one day, or maybe I'll find the remnants of one when I'm cave exploring one day in southern Illinois. Who knows, right? Who knows? Shoot, I might find a femur bone or something, man. Be like, be the richest or the most expensive femur bone in the world. Nah, I never said I believed it either, but I just think it's I don't know. The fact that there's stories like that from where I'm at is interesting. Like we have murals on the side of buildings about it. We have I think it's a 7 or 8 foot statue by McDonald's. Anyway, let's get into this. This see, I never heard of a straighter hobbit or streeter hobbit. I'm getting to learn something new about Illinois and the hobbits, y'all. I'm about to learn with you.
The Streeter Hobbit, fondly
Yeah,
referred to
somebody
as the Hobbit of
get
Streeter,
rid of
is a
Nick.
staple
Get him the
character
fuck
in the
out of here,
folklore of
like for
Streeter,
good.
Illinois.
Blocked,
This curious entity has been
please,
the
and thank
subject
you.
of countless
Yeah, I can take care of that
discussions,
for him.
debates, and
Plus,
even
I got work
academic
to do.
studies.
I'm done with all that
Its
stuff.
origins
We
are
ain't got no
rooted
more of that
deeply in the
around here,
local
Nick.
culture, and its legend continues to
You
influence the
turning a new
community's
leaf over here, buddy.
imagination. The origins of the Streeter Hobbit are shrouded in mystery, with various legends and theories attempting to
Yeah,
explain
he's in
its
the wrong place.
inception. Some attribute its existence to the imaginative minds of the early settlers, while others believe it is a manifestation of the town's collective consciousness. Nonetheless, the most widely accepted theory is that the Hobbit is a symbol of the town's historical connection with coal mining. Streeter's history significantly revolves around coal mining, which was the town's economic backbone during the late 19th and 20th centuries. The Streeter Hobbit is often depicted as a diminutive creature, living underground in the coal mines. Some believe
He's
this
a coal mine
representation
hobbit.
could symbolize the miners' lives, characterized by long hours in the dark, cramped mines. In local folklore, the Streeter Hobbit is depicted as a small, elusive creature with a penchant for mischief. Stories often describe encounters with the Hobbit, where it plays harmless pranks on the townsfolk, only to disappear into the depths of the mines.
What up, my puppy?
The Hobbit's actions, while often
Mighty Trace will
mischievous,
be back
never cause harm,
next week,
leading
buddy.
to its enduring
It's not going to be every
reputation
night
among the
anymore. I
locals.
think we're going to do Mondays, Fridays, and Sundays.
The
Sunday,
Streeter
Monday,
Hobbit is
and
also
Friday.
associated with good luck. Many miners would carry small tokens or
Yeah, I don't
symbols
want
of the
Nick over
Hobbit
here
as
anymore.
charms, believing it would protect them from harm and bring good fortune. This
Too
belief
short.
further ingrained the Hobbit into the local culture, transforming it from a mere folklore character into a
We just
symbol
needed a
of the
break, my
town's
puppy.
identity.
That's all. Everybody needs a break sometimes, Bubba.
Although it's been thought of as a mere tale, there have been sightings of it over the years. Here are a couple recent ones. In 2019, A group of disc golfers at Marilla Park claimed to have seen a small humanoid creature with hairy feet and pointed ears hiding behind a tree.
Did they say disc golfers? Do you guys know any people who play disc golf? They was not sober when they seen this. I'm just saying.
They said the creature was about 3 feet tall and had a green cloak. They tried to approach it, but it ran away into the woods. They described it as looking like a hobbit from the Lord of the Rings movies. In 2020, a couple who were canoeing on the Vermilion River near the Spring Lake Nature Area reported seeing a similar creature on the riverbank. They said it was fishing with a stick and had a basket full of fish. They said it looked at them curiously and waved before disappearing into the bushes. They also said it had a hobbit-like appearance and wore a brown hat. The Streeter Hobbit's influence extends beyond the town's folklore. It has become a symbol of Streeter's resilience and spirit. The Hobbit's diminutive stature and underground dwelling reflect the hardships faced by the
chaotic.
early miners, while its mischievous
I'm
nature
just saying
represents
those
their
discs,
indomitable
they got
spirit.
some weight to them, don't they?
The
No, they
Hobbit's
don't. They're
enduring
just a plastic
popularity
disc.
can be seen as a
I don't know. I never
testament to the
played.
town's ability to embrace
I
its history
played
and turn it
frisbee
into a
back in the
source
day,
of
though,
pride.
when I was a kid. I don't know about this Hobbit shit, though.
Academically,
I'm not
the
really into
Streeter
this.
Hobbit offers intriguing insights into the anthropological and sociological aspects of folklore. Scholars view the Hobbit as a product of societal imagination. Number 3. The Enfield Horror. The Enfield Horror, a creature reported to have terrorized the residents of
Hey,
Enfield,
that looks like your
Illinois
Mothman,
during
bro.
the 1970s, remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in the realm of cryptozoology. While the creature's existence has been hotly debated, the fear and fascination it stirred among the local population and beyond are indisputable. The story of the Enfield Horror first surfaced on April 25, 1973, when a local Number 2. Chicago Mothman.
Chaotic. The Mothman's for
Chicago
Chicago?
Mothman is a mysterious entity that has intrigued and bewildered residents of Illinois for years. With its origins shrouded in mystery, the creature is closely associated with the folklore of the Mothman of Point Pleasant, and for good reason due to them likely being the same species of cryptid. The
Oh, it's
Chicago
brother.
Mothman
It's a brother to
sightings,
yours,
however,
man.
have been notably prevalent in recent years, sparking debates about its
I don't know. That
existence,
silhouette kind of
nature,
looks like
and
Wolverine.
potential implications. The Mothman, as a concept, first emerged in the late 1960s in West Virginia, where multiple sightings of a humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and large wings were reported. The creature was subsequently linked to the
He said
collapse of the
Chicago.
Silver
What the
Bridge,
fuck?
leading to widespread fear and speculation. The story was later popularized by John Keel's 1975
Mothman
book,
Mafia.
The Mothman Prophecies, and the 2002 film
Nationwide.
adaptation of the same name.
That's right. That's right.
The Chicago Mothman, however, has its own unique narrative. The first reported sighting in Chicago occurred in 2011, but the frequency of reports increased significantly in 2017. To date, over
See, look there.
100 sightings have been documented,
Chaotic. The
primarily around the
motherfuckers
lakefront
migrated.
area in Chicago, leading to a renewed interest in this elusive creature. Witness accounts of the Mothman in Chicago vary, but certain characteristics are consistent. The creature is typically described as a large, flying humanoid, standing between 6 to 10 feet tall. Its most notable features are its glowing red
He's
eyes
taking
and
Batman's
large,
place.
bat-like wings that span anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. Some reports also describe the creature as having a slim, humanoid shape, while others liken it to a large, dark bird or owl. Here are a couple recent notable sightings. On July 22, 2021, around 11:15 p.m., a security officer at O'Hare International Airport saw a large wing being flying near the United Airlines cargo area. He described it as having a wingspan of at least 10 feet, a humanoid body, and glowing red eyes. He said it flew with a fluid motion and made no sound. He felt a sense of dread and fear as he watched it. He contacted Lon Strickler, a well-known cryptid and paranormal researcher who has been documenting the Chicago Mothman sightings, and gave him his
Chicago
account.
Mothman.
Strickler later interviewed two other witnesses who saw the same creature
That
that
don't look
night.
so scary.
One of them a truck driver who said it landed on his vehicle.
That
and
looks like
stared at
that
him
Jeepers
through the
Creepers
windshield.
thing, dude.
Strickler believes this incident is connected to a
You think they're
series of
related?
sightings that have been occurring at O'Hare since
Hold on, let me hit this
2017.
pipe. I'll figure this shit out right here. See, this we're figuring out.
On June 3rd,
Tell
of
me I don't look like the
2021,
Jeepers
around 10
Creepers,
p.m.,
motherfucker,
three
dude.
friends were walking on a lakefront trail behind Shed Aquarium in Chicago when they
done
noticed
tried
someone
to tell
standing
you.
by the railing.
I done tried to
They
tell
thought
you.
it was a person until they got closer and saw that it had large wings folded behind its back, a slender torso, and a small head with glowing red eyes. They said it was about 6 feet tall and dark gray in color. They felt paralyzed as they locked eyes with it, and then it suddenly spread its wings and flew away over Lake Michigan. They ran away from the scene and later also reported their encounter to Lon Strickler, who added it to his database of Chicago Mothman sightings. He said this was one of the few sightings where the creature was seen standing on the ground. Theories about the Chicago Mothman range from the scientifically plausible to the wildly speculative. Some suggest it could be a misidentified large bird species like a sandhill crane or great horned owl. However, the sheer size reported and the humanoid features challenge this interpretation. Others propose the Mothman as an interdimensional being, slipping in and out of our reality. This theory is often supported by the creature's sudden appearances and disappearances. The psychological perspective posits the sightings as mass hysteria or pareidolia, a phenomenon where the brain perceives a known image or sound where none exists. This theory argues that cultural knowledge of the Mothman myth might influence people to interpret ambiguous stimuli as the creature. Personally, I think that's a little too convenient an explanation for most of these sightings. The Chicago Mothman has had a significant impact on local culture. It has inspired numerous works of art, literature, and film, contributing to the city's rich assortment of urban legends and folklore. Despite the fear it instills in some, the creature has also brought
What up,
together a
Nug?
community of enthusiasts, researchers.
What's up, buddy? Can't hear you. There you are. No, still can't hear you. You fucking with me again? 'Cause I'll kick your ass right on to the back. I'm just playing. I can't hear you for real though.
No.
He'll be back, y'all. He'll be back.
Can you hear me? No.
There he is. Yeah. I can hear you now.
Oh.
Hey, I didn't know there was a Mothman in Chicago. Learning new things today.
Mothman, huh?
Well, I seen it said 5 cryptids from Illinois, and the first one they showed was the 5th one, which was the Big Muddy Monster from Murfreesboro. And I was like, oh, cool. And then we've learned about some hobbits, coal mine hobbits. I wasn't really into the hobbits. And then, lo and behold, I done found out there's a Mothman in Chicago. flying around. Hey, tell me it don't look like the Jeepers Creepers. Maybe not this one right here looks too much like a damn owl. But they had one on there that looked just like the Jeepers Creepers do. About done with the owl. I mean, with the Mothman. That don't look like a. Does that tell me that don't look like an owl? Bad AI
It
generation.
definitely looks like an owl, but
You know what they was trying. They tried.
All fascinated by the unknown. The Chicago Mothman remains one of the most captivating mysteries of Illinois. Its elusive nature and the very testimonies contribute to its mystique, making it a subject of continuous study and debate. Whether believed to be real or imagined, the Mothman of Chicago
Chaotic always
serves
talks
as a
about the
reminder of the
Mothman.
profound impact a large turd flying through the air at high speeds at night can make on the human face. Until definitive proof emerges, the creature will continue to flutter in the twilight zone of fact and fiction, a symbol of the city's enduring allure for the mysterious. Number 1.
Dogman.
The Dogman.
Somebody, no, don't tell my son there's a Dogman. He's gonna be looking for him for real.
Illinois, steeped in rich history and folklore, is home to incredible tales of paranormal activity and supernatural occurrences. Among these is the mysterious entity known as the Dogman. This creature, reputed to possess a blend of both human and canine characteristics, has been a part of Illinois' folklore for generations. The origins of the Dogmen of Illinois are deeply rooted in Native American folklore. The indigenous tribes in TH region narrated tales of man-beasts, often referred to as skinwalkers. These creatures were believed to have the ability to shapeshift into animals.
What's up,
one of
Lloyd?
the most common being a
Country
wolf-like
Angel.
creature.
Hey, what's up, guys? I see you all over there.
European settlers
bad for being rude.
perpetuated
I'm
these
sorry.
stories, with the first recorded mention of the Dogman appearing in the late 18th century. Dogman phenomenon gained traction in the 20th century with the advent of media. Eyewitness accounts describe the creature as a bipedal being, standing at 7 feet tall, with a muscular body,
Man, I'm
a
just not
dog-like
interested
face,
in this
and
fucking
glowing red
Dogman
or
either.
amber eyes. A couple of the most notable sightings in Illinois.
Yeah, I'm gonna play some music while I look for something else to. Maybe we'll look for that West Virginia video. Something about West Virginia. Fuck, I don't know. Just hang on. Oh shit.
It's the Green Daddy Santa could never.
Yeah, it's the Green Daddy Santa. You can never look at the drip. It's Mo.
Hey, let's go. I'm on the naughty list, baby. I'm the MVP. Mr. Claus in the DM, she tired of the glee. Got a heart full of coal and a sack full of toys, making noise, still enjoy it from the girls and the boys.
Call me Mr. Grinch, I'ma hold this thing by. Green fur on the skin, keep the haters outside.
Stank.
Stomp.
Period. They say I'm a foul one, they say I got termites, but when I pull up in the sleigh, I turn out the light. You heard the rumors about the stick, yeah, I'm losing control. I wouldn't touch you without my 39.5-foot pole. That's a long pole. I keep it extended, I keep it upended. I slide down the chimney, the roof gets appended. Ooh. Don't need no lubricant, don't need no key. I enter the room and I take the whole tree. You leaving out cookies? That's cute, that's a snack. But I'm leaving Whoville with the whole rack. Yeah. I'm on the naughty list, baby, I'm the MVP. Yeah. Mrs. Claus in the DM, she tired of the glee. Got a heart full of coal and a sack full of toys, making noise, still enjoy it from the girls and the boys.
Call me Mr. Grinch, I'ma hold this thing by. Green fur on the skin, keep the haters outside.
Stank.
Stomp.
Period. Santa rockin' velvet looking soft like a pillow. I'm rocking that green fuzz, weeping like love a bad boy, she liking the pain. She love the sting. Max on the leash, yeah, that's my main shooter. I stole the whole feast while you check the computer. My sack is heavy, yeah, it drags on the floor. It's bigger than the one you seen at the door. Cindy Lou Who? Now she snitching, she fake. I stole the roast beast and I kept the whole steak. They say my heart grew 3 sizes that day. 3 sizes. Check the exit, baby, tell me what it say. I got the strength of 10 Grinches plus 2 in the bag. Once you go green, you ain't getting it back. Unwrap me. I'm on the naughty list, baby, I'm the MVP. Mrs. Claus in the DM, she tired of the glee. Got a heart full of coal and a sack full of toys. Making noise, still enjoy it from the girls and the boys.
Call me Mr. Grinch, I'ma hold the stink vibe. Green fur on the skin, keep the haters outside.
Stank, stank, stunk. Yeah, tell Santa. Tell Santa to stay in his lane. He delivers once a year, I give it all night long. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Max, start the sleigh, we gone.
Yeah.
He gone.
All right. I cannot right away, anyway, find videos on West Virginia, but I have found a couple on Florida. One says, why living in Florida is worse than you thought. The other one, let's see. 50 absurd facts about Florida you never knew. Oh, yeah, that's it. We got 50 insane facts about Louisiana you never knew. Let me hear in the chat. What you guys want to, what state y'all want to know about that you never knew? Out of the ones that I just mentioned. I'm going to keep looking, though.
I can do that.
Mexico. New Mexico. Maybe everybody knows everything about West Virginia. So they can't come up with 50 things that people don't know about it. I'm just fucking right out. I know the Illinois one, I just so happened to catch that because it's not even been on there very long. Fact check Florida. All right, which one? 50 things. What did I say? Yeah, 50 absurd facts about Florida, or why living in Florida is worse than you thought. That one's 26 minutes. The other one is 30 minutes. Yeah, either one. We got 50 wild facts about Nevada that sound made up. We got Colorado, we got Utah, Wyoming, Montana. No, we've agreed it's going to be a Florida. Which one? Oh, which one do y'all want to see?
What are we talking about? Sorry, I wasn't even listening.
Yeah, of course. What state we're going to look into next? They want to do Florida. We got 2 options. 50 things. Let me look before I say this shit wrong. All right, we've got 50 absurd facts about Florida you never knew for $500, Alex, or why living in Florida is worse than you thought for $1,000.
Why the second one?
No. 50 facts. We got 2 in the chat. It says 50 facts, which is the first one, wasn't it?
Okay, all right, don't count though.
Yeah, if they're in the chat, they get a vote. All right. Did you guys know in Florida there's some underwater stuff? That's what they was telling me when I first clicked on it.
Caves where fossils rain from the ceiling, or that one of its lakes used to literally explode. How about the fact that it has more springs than any place on Earth? Well, Florida is a state that is full of bizarre facts like this. So buckle up, because we're about to reel off 50 of the wildest ones you probably never knew. Fact 50. This town sits at the exact meeting point of 3 ecosystems. Yeehaw Junction is a small unincorporated area with about 200 residents, located in sparsely populated farmland in extreme southeast Osceola County. While it's often called a town, it's more accurately described as a crossroads. This unique town is situated at the exact intersection of 3 distinct ecosystems: pine flatwoods, dry prairie, and marshland. Fact 49. There's an underwater habitat for humans off Key Largo. One of the few functioning undersea laboratories in the world lies in the
You have no idea. She's like a
Florida Keys. Operated by Florida International
University. She scares the shit out of me
this
all the
unique
time.
facility allows scientists to live and work underwater, conducting research on marine ecosystems, coral reefs, and ocean health. According to the BBC, the Aquarius Reef Base is the world's only undersea research laboratory, providing invaluable insights into the ocean environment by immersing researchers directly into their study habitat beneath the waves. Fact 48. The Everglades used to extend all the way to Orlando. The Everglades once extended all the way up to Orlando, covering a vast area that included regions now heavily developed for urban and agricultural use. Over time, urbanization, farming, and the construction of canals have drastically shrunk the natural habitat, fragmenting the ecosystem and altering its water flow. Today, restoration efforts are underway to reconnect what was lost and to restore the natural water movement that was severely disrupted by development. In 2024, Florida embarked on an ambitious ecological restoration initiative, including the construction of a large reservoir designed to secure the state's water supply while helping to restore the Everglades' delicate balance. Fact 47. Florida is the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live together. Many countries have alligators or crocodiles, but Florida has both. Florida is the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live together in the wild. In the Everglades, these prehistoric rivals coexist thanks to a delicate balance of fresh and brackish water. Everglades National Park is unique as the only place on Earth where both species share the same habitat naturally. In fact, it's the only location in the United States where you can see crocodiles in the wild. The coexistence is made possible by the mixture of fresh water from Lake Okeechobee and salt water from the ocean, creating a diverse environment that supports both species and allows this rare dual habitat to thrive. Fact 46. Some Florida towns were built on drained swampland that's now reflooding. Many towns in Florida were built on previously drained swampland.
Sorry, I forgot I was
Now,
unmuted.
due to factors such as rising sea levels and increased rainfall, these areas are experiencing reflooding. This reversion to wetlands highlights the consequences of disrupting natural water flow and underscores the profound impact of climate change on low-lying coastal communities. Just down the coast from Donald Trump's weekend retreat, residents and businesses in South Florida are facing regular episodes of water flooding into the streets. As sea levels continue to rise, the region, one of the most vulnerable in the world, is becoming ground zero in the battle against rising seas, with far-reaching implications for its communities and infrastructure. Fact 45. Wakulla Spring is one of the deepest in the world. Wakulla Spring is one of the deepest freshwater springs in the world, reaching more than 185 feet below the surface. Located in Florida's Wakulla Springs State Park, it's known for its clear water and long network of underwater caves. Over the years, researchers have found prehistoric animal bones, ancient tools, and other artifacts buried deep within the spring. It also marks the end of one of the longest and deepest submerged cave systems on the planet. As hydrologist Dr. Todd Kincaid put it, if these caves weren't underwater, the entire area would probably be a national park. Fact 44. Florida has more springs than any place on Earth, with over 700 freshwater springs bubbling up from beneath the surface. These natural fountains pour crystal clear water into rivers, create swimming holes, and carve out underwater caves. But why? Well, the reason Florida has more springs than any other state and most countries lies in its geology. huge layers of porous marine limestone near the surface, part of the Floridian aquifer system. Fact 43. Sinkholes have swallowed homes, roads, and people. Sinkholes have a notorious reputation in Florida, having swallowed homes, roads, and even tragically, people. The state experiences several thousand sinkholes each year. While some go unnoticed or cause only minor damage, others are much worse. Specifically, over 6,500 sinkhole insurance claims are reported annually. Sadly, some sinkholes are powerful enough to cause real disaster. In 2013, one such sinkhole opened up suddenly and engulfed a man in his bedroom, and his body was never recovered. Fact 42. Florida has the only living coral barrier reef in the continental U.S. The continental United States' only surviving coral barrier reef is located in Florida. The Florida Reef is the only authentic coral reef system in America, spanning more than 350 miles from the
What's good, J. Dowd?
counties
What
of
up?
St. Lucie Inlet. The reef isn't just beautiful, it also helps protect Florida's coast and supports a huge range of marine life. While snorkelers and divers enjoy its underwater views, the reef acts as a natural barrier against storms and erosion, and it provides a critical habitat for countless ocean species. Fact 41. A single spring, Silver Springs, once powered glass-bottom boat tours in the 1870s. Silver Springs is a remarkable group of artesian springs in Florida that glass-bottom
You could
boat
still
tours as far back as the
Go to a
1870s.
glass-bottom boat.
It
can't you?
consists
Yeah,
of
I
30
went there a
springs
couple
with
years ago,
61
yeah.
vents and a flow of 500 million gallons per day, making it one of the largest first magnitude springs in the United States and even the world. This incredible flow rate of 500 million gallons of water per day is enough to fill approximately 750 Olympic-sized swimming pools daily.
Yeah.
Silver Springs has been a
place is
popular tourist
spent, Bill.
destination for over
The
150
kids
years.
loved it.
For generations, people have come to see its clear waters by riding glass-bottom boats, getting a close-up view of the fish, plants, and unique underwater world that has made it a classic. Fact 40. Some beaches glow in the dark. Some Florida beaches glow at night due to bioluminescent plankton in the Indian River Lagoon. These tiny, single-celled organisms float on or near the ocean surface, and when agitated by waves, splashes, or other movements, they emit a blue-green light through a chemical reaction.
That's pretty
This
fucking
natural
cool.
light show creates a shimmering
that place
neon
at?
blue effect in the water. The bioluminescence of the Indian River Lagoon is a reflex response.
Indian River
Some
Lagoon.
dinoflagellates can flash blue light as an immediate reaction to the disturbance. Fact 39. Florida has islands made from trash and mud. Sounds pretty gross, right? But Florida does indeed have islands made from trash and dredged mud. Many of Miami's famous man-made islands, such as Dodge Island and Star Island, were created from dredged muck and debris during the 1920s real estate boom. These artificial islands were formed by piling up dredged material from the ocean floor, transforming what was once underwater into prime real estate. Today, they are home to luxury homes, exclusive clubs, and even high-end resorts.
Yes.
Fact 38. Miami Beach isn't exactly natural. Believe it or not, Miami Beach is mostly man-made. The sand you see today was brought in over the years to rebuild the shoreline. Without regular upkeep, much of the beach would slowly wash away. Miami Beach has been extensively modified and enhanced through artificial means, such as beach nourishment projects that pump sand onto the shoreline to fight erosion. Keeping Miami Beach in shape takes constant work. Without regular maintenance, waves, storms, and rising seas would slowly eat away at the shoreline, putting homes, businesses, and the beach itself at risk. Fact 37. Florida has the largest subtropical wilderness in the U.S. The Everglades, spanning approximately 1.5 million acres, is a unique ecosystem known for its slow-moving river of grass. This wetland system supports a bunch of different wildlife, including rare species like the Florida panther, manatees, and numerous bird species. The Everglades, often called the River of Grass, is one of Florida's most important natural areas. It helps regulate the climate, supports the water supply, and is home to wildlife you won't find anywhere else on Earth. It's a one-of-a-kind ecosystem that Florida depends on. Fact 36. It's also one of the only fire-dependent wetlands. One of the few wetlands in the world that depends on fire is the Everglades. In order to keep its ecosystem healthy and in balance, natural fires, which are frequently started by lightning, are essential. Many of the fragile plant and animal groups of the Everglades would struggle to exist without these sporadic fires, and the area would collapse or become overrun by invading species. Many species depend on a variety of habitats, which fire helps to maintain by removing old vegetation and encouraging new development. Fire is a natural component of the ecology of Florida. In fact, the state burns to survive. Fact 35.
Yeah,
Lake
I'll skip
Okeechobee
Miami
is
too,
so
man.
shallow
Yeah,
that you could
place.
walk
I've been
across
there
it if
before.
it were drained. Despite covering approximately 730 square miles,
Lake what?
making it the largest freshwater lake in Florida, its average depth is only about 9 feet. The lake serves as a vital water source for the region, providing flood control, irrigation, and habitat for numerous species. Fact 34. Florida is not surrounded by ocean. Believe it or not, Florida is not completely surrounded by ocean. The state is a peninsula, meaning it's mostly surrounded by water on 3 sides, and its western coast is bordered by the Gulf of Mexico. This positioning gives Florida's Gulf Coast beaches a unique character, typically warmer and calmer than the Atlantic side. The Gulf of Mexico's gentle waves and milder waters make it a popular destination for swimming, boating, and relaxing along the coast. Fact
jellyfish.
33. Underneath Florida is a giant sponge. The entire state of Florida sits on top of the Floridian Aquifer, a huge underground limestone bedrock that functions like a natural reservoir, stretching across 100,000 square miles and producing 1.2 trillion gallons of water every year. This porous limestone, just a reminder, absorbs water like a giant sponge, storing large amounts of fresh water beneath the surface. However, because of how porous it is, the limestone can also collapse out of nowhere, causing sinkholes that can be a huge hazard. Fact 32. Florida has underwater caves that go on for miles. Florida is home to extremely long underwater cave systems that stretch for miles beneath the surface. Divers have mapped more than 28,000 feet of explored passageways in Peacock Springs State Park, for example. One of the most famous
National
caves is Devil's
Geographic
Den,
Guide, bro.
a hidden underground spring nestled
Alerted
within a
about
120-foot-wide cavern.
50,
Like all Florida springs, Devil's Den maintains a constant water temperature of
50
about
things I didn't
72
know
degrees
about
Fahrenheit year-round, providing a cool, inviting environment for divers and snorkelers. These intricate cave systems, formed over thousands of years by dissolving limestone, and exploring them offer a thrilling adventure into one of Florida's most mysterious and beautiful natural features. Fact 31. The state has rivers that flow north. Contrary to the popular belief that rivers in the U.S. always flow south, you'll be surprised to learn that Florida contains a number of rivers that flow north. The St. Johns River, the longest river in Florida and one of the few significant rivers in the nation that flows north rather than south, is among the most prominent. The St. Johns River rises in Indian River County and flows across eastern Florida for about 310 miles before draining into the Atlantic Ocean. Fact 30. Florida has more coastline than any other state except Alaska. Alaska's coastline is a massive 6,640 miles, but Florida has something to flex as well. With approximately 1,350 miles of shoreline, it surpasses those of California and Texas. This huge coastline includes beautiful beaches along the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. The sheer length of Florida's coastlines plays a significant role in its tourism industry, marine biodiversity, and cultural identity as a premier beach destination. Fact 29. The Florida Keys are part of ancient history. The Florida Keys aren't just regular islands. They're made from ancient coral reefs. Long ago, when sea levels were much higher, coral and marine life built up massive reef structures. Over time, those reefs hardened into limestone. Then, during the last ice age, sea levels dropped and exposed the fossilized reefs. What's now the Florida Keys formed as parts of that limestone were pushed above the surface. These islands are a reminder of Florida's deep ocean past, and they still support some of the most unique wildlife and terrain in the state. Fact 28. You can find ancient shark teeth on the beach. Florida's ancient history doesn't end with the Florida Keys. Venice Beach is known as the shark tooth capital of the world, and as you'd guess, visitors often find ancient shark teeth washed up along its shores. These fossils originate from sharks that lived in the warm Gulf waters of this area for millions of years. Over time, the erosion of the coastline exposes the fossilized teeth, making Venice Beach a prime location for both fossil hunters and beachcombers. Fact 27. Florida is home to one of Earth's largest wet prairies. The Kissimmee Prairie Preserve covers about 54,000 acres of wide open land, and it's so flat you can actually see the curve of the Earth. This rare stretch of dry prairie is filled with tall grasses, wildflowers, and all kinds of wildlife. It's one of the best places in Florida to experience untouched nature, spot rare birds, and take in the vastness of the landscape. Fact 26. Florida once had volcanic activity. The The state's geological history begins over 530 million years ago during the Cambrian period, when much of southeastern North America, including what is now Florida, was submerged under an ancient. The land formations we see today started forming around 300 million years ago, when portions of land were added from what is now Africa during the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea. Although Florida has no active volcanoes today, evidence of past volcanic activity exists deep underground. Geologists have discovered signs of ancient submarine volcanic activity that took place during the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras. Key findings include igneous intrusions, which are deep within Florida's subsurface. Layers of ancient volcanic rock indicate past eruptions when the land was still submerged beneath the ocean. Also, many of Florida's famous sinkholes and underground rivers are linked to the dissolution of ancient volcanic rock formations over millions of years. Fact 25. Sand in the Panhandle comes from the Appalachian Mountains.
What?
The sand along Florida's Panhandle, especially in the Destin area, originates from the Appalachian Mountains. Over millions of years, quartz minerals eroded from these mountains were carried by rivers, primarily the Apalachicola River, and deposited along Florida's coast. This process resulted in the formation of the region's famous powder white beaches. The sand in this area is considered among the whitest and most homogeneous in the world, composed predominantly of tiny quartz particles that have been naturally refined over thousands of years. Fact 24. Florida has impressive dunes. When you think of dunes around the world, Florida probably doesn't spring to mind. But the state is home to dunes taller than 25 feet, despite the state's generally flat terrain. For example, Topsail Hill Preserve State Park has coastal dunes that rival the height of small buildings, and they're constantly shaped by wind and waves. These shifting formations play a big role in protecting the coast. They help block storm surges and prevent erosion. Fact 23. One of its lakes used to explode. Lake Apopka is located in central Florida, northwest of Orlando. It is the fourth largest lake in the state and lies within Orange County. And it has a rather interesting past, as it was once known for emitting flammable gases. The lake's waters became heavily polluted over the years, primarily due to agricultural runoff and organic waste. The decaying vegetation and organic matter in the polluted waters produced methane, a flammable gas that could sometimes be ignited. This phenomenon was a direct result of the anaerobic decomposition process occurring in the lake's oxygen-depleted conditions. Today, efforts to restore Lake Apopka continue, but its history as a lake capable of exploding will never be forgotten. Fact 22. A third of Florida used to be wetlands. Historically, wetlands covered about 1/3 of Florida's land area, totaling over 20 million acres. These wetlands included swamps, marshes, and other vital ecosystems that supported animal life and helped filter water and control flooding. However, due to development for agriculture, urbanization, and real estate, much of Florida's wetlands have been drained or altered. Today, less than half of the original wetlands remain, making the conservation and restoration of these critical habitats an important environmental priority for the state. Fact 21. You can find desert-like scrub habitats in Central Florida. In Central Florida, you can find desert-like scrub habitats known as sandpine scrublands. Sandpine scrub is among the rarest and most unique habitats on Earth, characterized by sandy soils, drought-resistant plants, and specialized wildlife. This ecosystem, located in Central Florida, is also one of the oldest in the state, dating back to ancient times when rising sea levels flooded much of what is now the state. Over millions of years, these scrublands persisted in the higher, well-drained areas, surviving through prehistoric climate changes and evolving into a fragile, yet vital, part of Florida's natural heritage. Fact 20. Florida's barrier islands are always moving. Florida's barrier islands are dynamic and constantly in motion, driven by waves, storms, and natural coastal processes. These islands are continually reshaped as sand is eroded from one side and deposited on the other. Beach and dune systems, especially barrier islands, are active environments where erosion, the removal of sand, and accretion, the addition of sand, happen simultaneously. Storms and wave action can carve away parts of the island, while longshore drift, the movement of sand along the coast, causes the islands to gradually migrate and change shape over time. This constant shifting helps protect the mainland from storms and erosion, but it also means that these islands are ever-changing, living landscapes. Fact 19. The Gulf Stream starts off Florida's coast. Many people may not realize that the Gulf Stream begins off Florida's coast. This powerful warm ocean current plays a vital role in regulating the Earth's climate and influences weather patterns across the Atlantic. The Gulf Stream originates near the tip of Florida, where it flows northward along the eastern coast of the United States and Canada as a swift, warm current. It then crosses the Atlantic Ocean toward Europe, helping to keep the climate of Western Europe much milder and warmer than it would be otherwise. Additionally, the Gulf Stream can influence hurricane paths, often sending storms toward Europe or affecting their intensity along the way. Fact 18. Florida has underwater lava tubes. Sort of. In parts of North Florida, natural cave networks formed by karst processes and spring systems mimic the appearance of lava tubes found in volcanic regions. These underground tunnels and caves are created through the dissolution of limestone and other soluble rock formations over thousands of years, rather than by solidified lava flows. Despite their different origins, these subterranean features share similar geological characteristics with lava tubes, including long, narrow passageways and cavernous spaces. Fact 17. One of the lightning capitals of the world. The region between Tampa and Orlando, often called Lightning Alley, experiences an extraordinary amount of lightning activity, more than almost anywhere else on Earth. This area, extending from Tampa to Titusville, receives approximately 10 to 35 lightning flashes per square kilometer each year. Fact 16. It's the only state with both tropical and humid subtropical climate zones. Florida is divided into two main climate regions: the tropical climate in the southern parts, and the humid subtropical climate in the northern and central areas. This unique climate diversity means that Florida enjoys warm temperatures year-round, allowing plants to thrive continuously. However, the consistent warmth also accelerates plant growth, requiring frequent maintenance to keep them healthy. Fact 15. Florida's weather is powered by three different seas. The Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean Sea collectively shape Florida's temperature, rainfall, and storm systems. Temperatures throughout the Florida Peninsula are kept temperate, especially in the winter, by the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean, notably the Gulf Stream. Inland winter temperatures are warmer than in other regions of the southeastern United States because of the Gulf Stream's warm currents close to the East Coast. Furthermore, the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico's warm waters combine to provide a humid atmosphere that encourages frequent rains and thunderstorms, particularly in the summer. The strong, frequently daily rains that characterize Florida's summer environment are caused by the evaporation of water into the atmosphere by this warmth. Both the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico serve as breeding grounds for tropical cyclones, including hurricanes. Warm sea surface temperatures in these regions provide the energy and moisture necessary for tropical storms to develop, strengthen, and sometimes make landfall on Florida's coast, bringing heavy rain, wind, and storm surges. So, compiled, these three bodies of water play a crucial role in Florida's dynamic and often unpredictable weather patterns. Fact 14. There are underwater caves where fossils rain from the ceiling. In some spring-fed underwater cave systems in Florida, fossils occasionally rain down from the ceiling. Storms and natural water movement dislodge ancient bones, revealing fossils embedded within these caves. These discoveries, including animal bones, human artifacts like knives and dung, have sparked important scientific debates. They cast doubt about the widely accepted Bering Strait theory of human migration and suggest that humans may have spread through the Americas approximately 1,500 years earlier than previously believed. With that said, these underwater caves continue to be a valuable window into the prehistoric past. Fact 13. Florida was once home to these giant mammals. Florida's ancient land was once inhabited by giant ground sloths and saber-toothed cats. Fossils of these extinct megafauna have been discovered in locations such as Vero Beach and Peace River. The largest ground sloths, belonging to the genus Megatherium, were about the size of Asian bull elephants and weighed approximately 8,000 pounds. Fact 12. A land of thousands of islands. Aside from Alaska, which has the most islands in the United States, Florida boasts more islands than any other continental U.S. state. With over 4,500 islands larger than 10 acres, Florida surpasses states like California in total island count. In total, Florida has approximately 4,510 islands of this size or larger. It's important to note that the term continental United States excludes Alaska and Hawaii, meaning Florida holds the record among the contiguous states for the number of islands. Fact 11. Some cities can't build basements. The water table in Florida is so high that building basements is often impractical or impossible. If you've lived in a region where basements are common, used for storage, home gyms, extra bedrooms, or storm shelters, you might find it strange that basements are almost non-existent in Florida. So, why is that? The answer lies in Florida's unique environment. particularly its climate, land, and water table. Frequent storms and a consistently high water table mean that groundwater is often just a few feet below the surface. In South Florida, attempting to dig a basement typically results in hitting groundwater almost immediately, making construction difficult and costly. As a result, most homes in Florida are built without basements, relying instead on elevated foundations or other design features suited to the state's watery landscape. Fact 10. Its man-made lakes often become alligator hotspots. Florida's numerous man-made lakes and waterways often become hotspots for alligators. With an estimated population of about 1.3 million alligators statewide, these reptiles are increasingly sharing the landscape with people. As humans develop into their habitats, alligators adapt by using lakes, canals, and retention ponds as natural highways for travel and hunting. Many of these water bodies, originally created for flood control and stormwater management, double as alligator highways, making encounters with these formidable reptiles more common in Florida's developed areas. Fact 9. Florida has land that dissolves beneath your feet. In Florida, the ground can literally disappear beneath your feet thanks to something called karstic terrain. Underneath much of the state is soft limestone rock that slowly dissolves when rainwater, slightly acidic by nature, seeps into the ground. Over time, this eats away at the rock, creating hidden caves, giant sinkholes, and crystal clear springs. And these underground networks are crucial. They hold a massive amount of Florida's fresh water, making up one of the most important groundwater systems in the world. Fact 8. Florida's coastline is eroding fast. More than half of the state's beaches are classified as critically eroded, prompting millions of dollars to be spent annually on sand replenishment projects. This rapid erosion results from a combination of factors, including rising sea levels, severe storms, and extensive coastal development. As sea levels continue to rise, the threat to Florida's sandy beaches grows, making ongoing and costly efforts necessary to maintain the coastline and preserve these vital natural resources. Fact 7. Parts of Miami are sinking due to overdevelopment. Parts of Miami are experiencing a phenomenon known as subsidence, primarily due to overdevelopment. Draining wetlands and extensive construction have caused certain areas of the city to subside by several millimeters each year. A recent study by the University of Miami indicates that 35 buildings, including luxury high-rises, are sinking, with some areas experiencing subsidence of up to 8 centimeters. This process is being worsened by ongoing construction activities and is occurring at a faster rate than previously anticipated, raising concerns about the long-term stability and safety of parts of the city. Fact 6. Florida is slowly sinking. Florida isn't just dealing with rising seas, it's also sinking. In cities like Miami, huge parts of the land sit just 3 to 6 feet above sea level. Over half of Miami-Dade County is barely that high. And here's the twist. Florida's ground is made of porous limestone, which soaks up water like a sponge. So when the ocean rises, it doesn't just flood from above, it creeps in from below. That combo makes Miami one of the most at-risk cities on the planet when it comes to sea level rise. Fact 5. Parts of Florida used to be underwater coral reefs. You might not realize it, but when you're walking around Miami, you're actually standing on ancient coral reefs. Millions of years ago, southern Florida was covered by a thriving underwater world, full of colorful corals and tropical fish. Over time, the sea levels dropped and those reefs hardened into the limestone that now sits beneath cities like Miami. Just off the coast of the Florida Keys, the Florida Reef is still alive today. It's the only coral barrier reef in the continental U.S. So yeah, Florida's got a secret. The ground beneath your feet was once an ocean paradise. Fact 4. The state has a literal ghost town swallowed by a swamp. Flamingo, located within Everglades National Park, was largely abandoned after repeated hurricane devastation, with major impacts occurring in 2005, when Hurricanes Katrina and Wilma caused massive damage. In 2017, Hurricane Irma also inflicted significant damage, further contributing to the town's decline. Today, all that remains of the former town are a few remnants of building foundations, and it's considered a ghost town, remaining as a ghostly reminder of the power of nature and the challenges of maintaining settlements in such a vulnerable environment. Fact 3. Florida has underwater forests. Believe it or not, there's an ancient forest sitting at the bottom of the ocean just off the coast of Florida. Near Sarasota, scientists discovered a sunken cypress forest that's been underwater for over 50,000 years. It was buried in ocean mud and protected from oxygen, which helped keep the wood perfectly preserved. Experts say it could be as old as 70,000 years. Fact 2. Florida is flatter than a pancake. Florida is the flattest state in the entire United States. Its highest point, Britton Hill, reaches only 345 feet above sea level, about the height of a 3-story building. To put that into perspective, that's lower than the tallest building in most major cities. So, when you're strolling along Florida's beaches or cruising through its plains, remember, you're walking on some of the most level ground in the country. Fact 1. Florida helps manatees avoid freezing. Florida is one of the few places where manatees congregate in large numbers around nuclear power plants to stay warm. During cold snaps in winter, hundreds of these gentle marine mammals gather near the warm outflows of coastal power stations, which provide a crucial refuge when natural waters drop below their comfortable temperature threshold. Manatees are naturally adapted to warmer waters and can struggle to survive in temperatures below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The warm discharge from power plants offers a safe and reliable habitat, helping them avoid hypothermia and ensuring their survival during Florida's colder months. What about 50 insane facts about European geography you won't believe are true?
All right. Daggone moved on to California. See, we've been on here an hour. What do you guys want to hear? A couple songs before I roll out of here? You name it, any song, as long as we got it. I obviously can't go find something. I mean, Nuggy, you still over there?
Yep.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed the National Geographic night. What up, Josh? How's it going, bro? Turkey Creek Power Plant, huh? Oh. It's been a long weekend, guys. Tomorrow's Monday. Back at it. Back to the work week grind. Hey, not a problem, Judge. I think I'm going to start doing more stuff like this, just so it is something different, something, you know. I think, like we watched one this morning where it showed, hell, I learned a bunch of stuff about Illinois I didn't know. And I've lived here for years and years. Hey, Merry Christmas to you guys too, Josh. You and your family and everybody. Everybody. Shoot, that makes me want to play a Christmas song. Don't worry, I won't play the same one I played earlier. Let's see, where's it at? Here we go. How about the Nasty Trashy Christmas? We'll play this one real quick.
All right. Who spiked the eggnog? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, Santa's in the bathroom, heaving up a lung. I kissed a frozen pole and ripped off half my tongue. The dog ate all the tinsel and he's scooting on the rug. And creepy Uncle Rick is asking for another hug. No! I bought your present at the gas station store. A half-eaten sandwich off the bathroom floor.
It's a nasty, trashy Christmas disaster. The tree is on fire and it's burning up the plaster.
Grandma's got the gout and Daddy's in a trance. I think I just sharted in my Santa Claus pants. Yeah, nasty, trashy Christmas tonight. Clean it up.
Does this receipt say Goodwill? You cheap jerk.
Yeah, Judge, was that you that said that? Well, you said the tallest man, yeah. Lloyd said that people don't realize how much coal is mined in Illinois. And yes, there is a shit ton of coal mined in Illinois. I'm gonna act like I didn't hear that.
I didn't realize I was unmuted.
You know what else we learned today? Illinois has a very large deposit of silicon sand, evidently. And at one point in time, a deposit of fluoride. Isn't that what it is? I'm pretty sure that's what it said. Merry Christmas to you too, man. Merry Christmas to all you guys. Really, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Don't drink too much of that eggnog, you know. Start a food fight or something. Actually, you should do that. Start a food fight this year, guys. Start a tradition. Wall Barker and the Barker boys. You know what? Hey, all right, give me a second. I'll look it up, guys. I mean, if you guys want to stick around, I'll look it up. Here, I'll play something else while I look it up real quick. I'll give you guys a sneak peek at my Christmas song. It's the lyrics are going to be the same, but the song is different, guys.
Oh, hold my beer. Yeah, we ain't doing Silent Night tonight, folks. We waking up the whole damn trailer park. Mud Daddy in the house. Let's get it, 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 let's get it. I pulled up in a dually, didn't need no sleigh reindeer. All pit bulls and they barking out the way. Got a sack full of naughty, ain't nothing here nice. I'm drinking whiskey neat, I don't need no ice. Red suit cut off at the shoulders, biceps grease. Mud Daddy's here to initiate the feast. Jimmy was too small, so I kicked in the door. Now Grandma's doing body shots down on the floor. It's a Mud Daddy Christmas. Hide your daughters and your wives. We get lit like the lights. Yeah, we lucky to survive. Got the tinsel in a tangle. Got the eggnog spike. It's the kind of rowdy party that Jesus would have liked. Yeah, shaking up the gifts, making snow angels in the mud. If you ain't getting wild, then you just a Christmas dub. Look over in the corner, man, Slinko's getting loose. He spiked the apple cider with some 90 proof juice. And Mrs. Slinko, Lord, she's looking like a snack, wearing nothing but a ribbon and a Santa hat. She's shaking what she got underneath the pine tree. Wait, who was that passed out? Oh Lord, it's Ty. The dab king, he tried to chug a gallon of the peppermint schnapps. Now he's fighting with a nephew looking for the cow. It's a Mud Daddy Christmas. Hide your daughters and your wives. We get lit like the lights. Yeah, we looking to survive. Got the tinsel in a tangle. Got the eggnog spike. It's the kind of rowdy party that Jesus would have liked. Yeah, shaking up the gifts, making snow angels in the mud. If you ain't getting wild, then you just a Christmas dub. Now Celtic started yelling, yeah, yeah. I'm in the hospital through the wall. Set the curtains on fire, deck the halls, y'all. And crawfishes in the kitchen cooking something wrong. Use a branded jerky and a dirty country song. He said, taste this pumpkin, it'll put hair on your chest. I think I saw a possum floating in it, but I digress. Mud Daddy on the table stomping in his boots, showing Mrs. Claus exactly where he keeps the roots. We swapping dirty gifts, yeah, batteries included. If you thought we'd keep it holy, you were quite deluded. The pumpkin pulled up, saw the lights in the beer, grabbed a cup from crawfish and said, Merry Christmas, dear. We ain't sleeping till the sun comes creeping on the snow, so kiss my mistletoe right before you go. B-O-O-B. Here! Merry Christmas from the mud pit. Wake up, son, you're sleeping in the dip spit. K.I. put the ceiling fan down, Slinko, get your wife actually, leave her right there, Mud Daddy out.
I don't know. You guys think that's a Christmas country rapping now? Just asking for a friend. Although, don't forget, it will be a different beat. It's going to be different, guys. Lyrics are the same, but it'll be different. Anyway, I found something about Ma Barker, a biography about the Barker family. Looked like it had real life people in it too, so here we go. We'll all learn something here.
From A&E, this is Biography.
What up, Great White?
For February 24th, 1999, Biography with Jack Perkins.
Oh, it's from 99. It's an old one.
She was sure not your typical mother. Ma Barker gave birth to a crime wave that swept through the Midwest and ended in a blaze of machine gun fire. To her neighbors, she was Mrs. Wilson, a friendly and God-fearing woman. To the FBI, she was Ma Barker, one of America's most vicious criminal masterminds. Her story has always been a mixture of mythology and reality, but without question, she was the matriarch of a notorious family. She was a mother who took permissiveness to the extreme. I mean, Ma and her boys graduated from shoplifting to kidnapping and murder. One by one, she saw her outlaw offspring thrown in jail or killed, until finally it was just Ma Barker and her favorite son against the FBI.
She was a wicked woman. How can anybody raise their children to be criminals of that ilk?
J. Edgar Hoover called Ma Barker a monument to parental indulgence. Ma Barker let her boys literally get away with murder.
In the 1920s and 30s, the Barker name was synonymous with violent bank robberies, kidnapping, and murder. Ma Barker's sons, Herman, Lloyd, Doc, and Fred, cut an unparalleled swath of crime across the Midwest. Her dubious achievement as a mother was to raise 4 violent career criminals. They would all die violently. So would she.
Hold on. Is this going to get me in trouble for
Kate
guns?
Barker was born Arizona Donald Trump, 1872.
I said, hold on. Is this video going to get me in trouble for guns? Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing. Chaotic, the Goonies.
Man, shit. As long as people don't report you, dude, like
shit, you know, people be doing that, especially in me. Let's find a different subject, guys. It doesn't have guns in it, I guess. Then again, I get a few strikes, right? Now I'm conflicted. Do I play it or do I don't? Let me see what else I can find real quick. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Judge. There's too many people that dislike me. You guys want to check out Illinois? 10 of Illinois criminals so evil they terrified the entire damn state. Man, that's probably got guns in it too. Fuck. People, I tell you. Let's see. Anybody know about North Carolina? South Dakota, Michigan. We got some 50 insane facts about Michigan. 50 insane facts about New Mexico. Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Louisiana. Let's do Louisiana. You guys are good with doing Louisiana? Yeah, I agree. Fuck the haters too. So you think we should just go ahead and watch it? Fuck it. Yeah, I'll definitely watch it on my own time. I was just trying to pull something up that we could all chill and check out. Anybody in here from Louisiana? Or does anybody in here know somebody from Louisiana? What about Arizona? And Arizona's a very interesting state. I found it very interesting. We got New York and New Hampshire. He was born in Baton Rouge. No shit. All right, guys. 1 in the chat for Louisiana, 2 in the chat for Arizona. Miss Vicky says Arizona is awesome. I agree with you, Miss Vicky. Especially when you come from the east. What you got there, Chaotic? What is your link you got there? Oh, for later. Okay. That's not helping me out on that. I'm just playing. Miss Vicky says 1. Josh says 1. All right, Louisiana it is. Yeah, I know Triple T's from Louisiana. That's why I said that. If anybody knows somebody from Louisiana. Hey, you know what? When the Ma Barker thing started, I got a whole Miss Lori vibe until it went on the whole criminal thing. But just like that whole, like woman that's always watching out for everybody.
2012, a 700-foot deep sinkhole destroyed nearly an entire Louisiana town. Or that the state has the highest alligator-to-people ratio in America. How about the fact that it loses a football field of land every 90 minutes? Well, Louisiana is full of mind-bending facts like this, and we've got 50 of them for you. So let's get right into it. Fact 50, vanishing coastline. Since the 1920s, Louisiana has lost 2,000 plus square miles of land. Today, as we said, it loses a football field every 90 minutes, as the Gulf swallows more coastline. The cause isn't ancient geology, it's modern engineering. Levees and canals starve the wetlands of new sediment, leaving towns and ecosystems to literally sink away. Louisiana is now fighting a race against time to keep entire communities from vanishing underwater. Fact 49, a lake drained like a giant bathtub. In 1980, a drilling accident punctured a salt mine under Lake Peigneur, creating a whirlpool that swallowed 11 barges, a tugboat, and 65 acres of land. The chaos even produced Louisiana's tallest waterfall at 164 feet as the Gulf rushed backward into the lake. Once just 10 feet deep, Peigneur became a 200-foot saltwater basin. In a bizarre twist, 9 of those barges later popped back up to the surface. leaving behind one of America's most jaw-dropping engineering disasters. Fact 48, hidden meteor crater. In 2023, LSU researchers uncovered a 1-mile-wide meteor crater buried beneath St. Helena Parish. It's Louisiana's only known impact site and one of just 120 on Earth. Around 10,000 years ago, a 100-foot space rock slammed into the state with the force of a small nuclear blast. Today, the scar hides under quiet forests and soft soil, invisible to anyone passing by. Fact 47, the town-eating sinkhole. In 2012, Assumption Parish witnessed Louisiana's most terrifying real-life monster movie when a tennis court-sized pit revealed itself as a collapsed salt dome cavern. It kept expanding until it became a 37-acre, 700-foot deep lake of oily, methane-bubbling mud, big enough to swallow the Superdome's roof 4 times. This swamp monster devoured entire trees and land, forcing 350 residents to permanently abandon their homes. By 2018, only a dozen families remained, leaving behind a modern ghost town in the heart of Cajun country. Fact 46, the river that almost ran away. By the mid-20th century, the Mississippi River was ready to abandon New Orleans and Baton Rouge for a shorter route through the Atchafalaya Basin. Engineers warned it could have jumped ship by the 1970s. In response, the Army Corps of Engineers built the Old River Control Structure in 1963, a massive set of floodgate handcuffs that chained the river in place and saved Louisiana's ports from becoming stranded backwaters. Every flood season, the restless Mississippi still tests these shackles like a geological Houdini, reminding us that Mother Nature doesn't like being told where to flow. Fact 45, bridge across an ocean? Louisiana's Lake Pontchartrain Causeway stretches nearly 24 miles, making it the world's longest continuous bridge over water. Its infamous 8-mile middle stretch surrounds drivers with nothing but sky and water, so disorienting that some suffer panic attacks and need police escorts. The bridge has even doubled as an emergency runway when a plane ran out of fuel. For those miles, it feels like a maritime mirage where the horizon disappears, and you're not sure you're still on Earth. Fact 44, a parish bigger than Rhode Island. Cameron Parish spans 1,932 square miles, larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. Yet, only about 5,000 people live here, making it Louisiana's largest parish by land, but second smallest by population. Most of the area is remote marshland and Gulf coastline, where alligators and migratory birds outnumber humans. At night, you can drive for miles with only stars and marsh grass for company. It's Louisiana's Wild West, except with Spanish moss and the occasional gator crossing the road. Fact 43, overrun with alligators. Florida has about 1.3 million gators, but Louisiana blows past it with over 2 million wild and another million on farms. Roughly 1 for every 2 people, the highest ratio in America. In some parishes, it's normal to see these living dinosaurs sunbathing on levees or lounging in backyard ponds. It's like Louisiana signed a lease with prehistoric reptiles and forgot the eviction clause. Luckily, most keep to themselves. But here's your Cajun reminder. Always check the water before diving in. You might interrupt a 200 million year old family reunion. Fact 42,
I have
giant
personally
swamp
never
rats
been to
everywhere. Louisiana's marshes are under siege by 20-pound rodents with day-glow orange teeth called nutria. Imported from South America for fur farming, they never left and now devour the state's wetlands like an all-you-can-eat buffet. To fight back, Louisiana put a $6 bounty per tail, and hunters have wiped out more than 6 million since the 2000s. Hundreds of thousands each year in a desperate effort to save the coast. Fact 41. The mountain, shorter than a skyscraper, Driscoll Mountain, the state's highest point, tops out at just 535 feet above sea level. 2 downtown New Orleans buildings are taller, and even the 450-foot state capitol nearly rivals it. Driscoll ranks as America's third lowest high point, making Louisiana flatter than a pancake convention. And the hike to the summit, more like a pleasant stroll that would barely even register on your fitness tracker. Fact 40, city below the sea. Once above sea level, about half of New Orleans now sits below it, with some neighborhoods sinking 10 to 14 feet under the Gulf. Built on drained swampland, the city survives only through levees and nonstop pumping. That gamble collapsed in 2005 when Katrina's surge smashed the floodwalls. The geography is so surreal, you can stand in parts of the city and watch water in nearby canals flowing above your head. like living inside a twisted aquarium. Fact 39, engineering marvel of pumps. New Orleans doesn't play around when it comes to staying dry. The city operates one of the world's most powerful municipal draining systems, featuring 120 giant pumps that can collectively blast nearly 50,000 cubic feet of water per second into Lake Pontchartrain. That's roughly 370,000 gallons per second of liquid power. So ridiculously potent that this pump army could theoretically suck the entire River Thames bone dry. Invented over a century ago by local engineering genius A. Baldwin Wood, these mechanical marvels have been the city's liquid lifeline, heroically battling rainstorms that would otherwise turn the bowl-shaped city into an unintentional swimming pool. Fact 38, rainiest state in the lower 48. Louisiana averages about 60 inches of rain a year, more than any state except Hawaii. Here, downpours aren't weather events. They're a lifestyle. Afternoon thunderstorms hit like clockwork, while winter rains can drag on for weeks. Parts of South Louisiana top 70 inches annually, fueling swamps and rice fields. Summers turn the air into a natural sauna, and locals joke that August showers are pointless. You're drenched the second you step outside. Fact 37, mega lightning. On April 29th, 2020, Louisiana helped host a record-breaking mega flash, a single bolt that stretched 477 miles from Texas across Louisiana into Mississippi. Confirmed by the World Meteorological Organization, it briefly turned 3 states into one giant light show. The northern Gulf Coast is already one of the world's top lightning hotspots, but even locals had to tip their hats to this bolt that refused to stay in one state. Fact 36, the island that vanished. Once known as the Louisiana Capri, Last Island was a 25-mile resort for the wealthy until disaster struck in 1856. A Category 4 hurricane with 150-mile-per-hour winds and a 12-foot surge shattered the island, killing nearly 200 people and splitting the land in half. Today, only a few sand islets remain, a stark reminder that Mother Nature can erase entire civilizations in a single night. The devastation was so legendary, it gave Ile Dernière its foreboding name. Fact 35, hot sauce saves the egrets. In the 1890s, fashionable hats were driving snowy egrets toward extinction, as hunters slaughtered them for their delicate white plumes. Tabasco heir Edward Ned McElhinney noticed this crisis and took action on Avery Island. He founded Bird City, hand-raising a small flock of surviving egrets and releasing them to migrate. The gamble worked. When they returned, they brought thousands more. By 1911, the refuge hosted an astonishing 100,000 egrets every summer. McElhinney's experiment became one of America's first great conservation success stories, earning praise from President Teddy Roosevelt, who called Bird City the most noteworthy reserve in the country. Fact 34, America's largest swamp. The Atchafalaya Basin is often called Louisiana's Amazon, a 1.4 million acre wilderness of bayous, cypress tupelo forests, and marshes. Roughly the size of Delaware, it's home to sunbathing gators, wandering black bears, endless crawfish, and countless migrating birds. But it's more than wildlife. During Mississippi River floods, the Atchafalaya acts as a giant pressure valve, absorbing excess water to spare downstream cities. Here, locals still travel by boat through maze-like waterways and make their living the old-fashioned way, harvesting crawfish, fish, and fur just like their ancestors. Fact 33, pelican comeback. Louisiana's state bird, the brown pelican, was completely gone from the state by 1963, wiped out by DDT pesticide poisoning. But in the late 1960s, biologists launched Operation Pelican Rescue, importing chicks from Florida to repopulate the coast. It worked. The birds thrived and multiplied until by 2009, they were removed from the endangered species list. Today, pelicans once again own Louisiana skies, squadrons cruising the coast like feathered fighter jets, diving with Olympic precision. From extinct to abundant in just decades, it's another one of America's greatest conservation success stories. Fact 32, ghost lights of the bayou. Louisiana's swamps come with their own horror movie effect. Mysterious feux follets, or flickering will-o'-the-wisps that dance above the marshes after dark. Cajun folklore says they're evil spirits or lost children luring travelers deeper into the swamp. Scientists blame gases from rotting plants that can ignite on their own. But try telling that to Cajuns who swear they've seen these eerie blue-green ghosts bouncing through the darkness. Fact 31. No Man's Land, the neutral strip. Picture the Wild West, with more humidity and alligators. From 1806 to 1821, the border between Spanish Texas and American Louisiana became a lawless neutral ground. With no government in charge, fugitives, pirates, and bandits swarmed the Sabine River region. Even Jean Lafitte set up shop, making it America's original criminal headquarters. The chaos ended in 1821, but today Sabine and Vernon parishes still embrace their outlaw heritage, because being too wild for two countries is worth bragging about. Fact 30. America's 5th largest reservoir. When Texans and Louisianans decide to build something together, you know it's going to be massive, because everything is bigger in Texas, but Louisiana is right up there. Toledo Bend Reservoir, straddling the state line across the Sabine River, is proof that everything really is bigger when these two states collab. Completed in 1969, this artificial giant covers 185,000 acres and stretches 65 miles long, making it the largest man-made body of water in the South and the 5th largest reservoir in the entire country by surface area. It's so enormous that standing on one shore, the opposite side disappears beyond the horizon, like you're staring across an ocean. Both states share everything about Toledo Bend: the water, the hydroelectric power, and the bragging rights. Bass fishermen consider it paradise. It's regularly ranked among America's top trophy bass lakes. Not bad for a lake that humans built from scratch. Fact 29, the 100-mile log jam. Imagine a traffic jam so huge it lasted centuries. In the early 1800s, the Great Raft, a tangled mass of logs and debris stretching up to 160 miles, completely clogged the Red River in northwest Louisiana. Built up over hundreds of years, it blocked all river traffic and turned the river into a sprawling swamp. In the 1830s, Captain Henry Shreve spent years blasting it apart piece by piece. His success reopened the river and launched cities like Shreveport, named after him, and Jefferson, Texas. Fact 28. Oil hidden in salt. Deep beneath Louisiana sit massive oil vaults carved into ancient salt domes. Along with Texas, it houses the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve in underground caverns. At West Hackberry alone, 22 caverns store 228 million barrels. Just one site out of more than 300 million barrels statewide. Some caverns are as tall as skyscrapers and as wide as the Superdome. Engineers create them by dissolving salt, then pumping oil into the hollowed chambers. Buried 2,000 to 4,000 feet down, they're hurricane-proof and invisible from above. Fact 27. Ancient City of Mounds. Long before jazz or gumbo, Louisiana had Poverty Point, a 3,400-year-old engineering marvel. Around 1700 BC, indigenous peoples moved nearly 2 million cubic yards of soil to build 6 semicircular ridges and
That's right,
a 72-foot mound.
crawfish.
The ridges span 3/4 of a mile, so large the design is only visible from the air, like a prehistoric crop circle. Its purpose remains a mystery, likely a trading hub and ceremonial center where thousands once gathered. Here's the kicker. When you stand on top of Mound A, you're on a monument already 1,000 years old when Rome was founded. Fact 26. The Giant Gulf Dead Zone. Every summer, Louisiana's coast turns into a massive underwater dead zone where nothing can live. This oxygen-starved wasteland usually spans 6,000 to 7,000 square miles, about the size of Hawaii, and in 2017 hit a record 8,776, bigger than New Jersey. The culprit is fertilizer runoff from the Mississippi, which fuels algae blooms that die, decay, and strip the water of oxygen. Fish and shrimp flee like refugees, and locals joke sea life has to hold its breath just to pass by. It's a man-made ghost town in what should be some of America's richest fishing waters. Fact 25.
Well,
La
that's
Baton
fucked up,
Rouge,
ain't it?
the Red Stick. Baton Rouge literally means red stick in French, and the original was nothing like a hockey stick. In 1699, explorer Pierre Lemoyne d'Iberville spotted a cypress pole on a Mississippi bluff smeared with blood and decorated with fish heads and bear carcasses. The Huma and Bayagula tribes had raised it as a boundary marker. prehistoric Louisiana's most metal landmark. The French named it Le Baton Rouge, giving the capital one of North America's oldest indigenous-inspired place names. Fact 24. World's oldest streetcars. New Orleans' St. Charles Avenue line has run since 1835, making it the oldest continuously operating street railway on Earth. These olive green cars have survived the Civil War, countless hurricanes, and repeated pushes to modernize. Today, it's surreal riding a 19th century streetcar past skyscrapers while oak branches scrape the roof. But in New Orleans, time traveling on your daily commute feels perfectly normal. Fact 23. Longest bayou in the world. When Louisiana does bayous, it goes big. Bayou Bartholomew
Thanks for hanging out,
holds
Josh.
the title as
All right,
Earth's
Judge.
longest
Appreciate it,
bayou,
buddy.
meandering 364 miles from Arkansas through Louisiana like nature's own highway. This coffee-colored waterway was once buzzing with steamboat commerce, but today it's a wildlife paradise, hosting over 100 aquatic species, making it the second most biodiverse stream in North America. Locals still fish its murky waters for bream and catfish, while spring transforms its banks into a lotus-blooming wonderland. Fact 22. No rocks, no problem. Unlike every other state, Louisiana has almost no natural rock outcrops. The land is one giant layer of soil and sediment, thanks to a humid climate that quickly weathers rock in the Mississippi, dumping mud for millennia. The upside? Great farming and no boulders in your yard. The downside? Geologists have to drill deep or leave the state to find actual rock. Fact 21. Brackish Lake Pontchartrain. Despite the name, Lake Pontchartrain isn't a lake at all, but a 630 square mile estuarine lagoon, one of America's largest inland saltwater bodies. Its brackish waters mix redfish and speckled trout with freshwater species, and from the middle, it feels like an inland sea. Yet, it's only 12 to 14 feet deep, so winds can whip up huge waves. Beloved as New Orleans' playground and protective barrier, it nearly became the city's worst nightmare during Hurricane Katrina. Today, stronger levees help keep this lake where it belongs, outside the French Quarter. Fact 20. Spanish moss isn't Spanish or moss. Spanish moss, one of Louisiana's most recognizable sites, is misleadingly named. It's neither Spanish nor a true moss, but a bromeliad, making it a distant cousin of pineapples. Native to the Americas, it survives by pulling nutrients from air and rain. Despite its Southern Gothic vibe, it doesn't harm the trees. It simply hangs there like the world's most low-maintenance house guest. Fact 19. Avery Island's salty secret. Avery Island, famously known as Tabasco sauce's birthplace, isn't, once again, technically an island. It's a massive salt dome rising from Louisiana's coastal plains. This 2,200-acre geological oddity sits on top of a salt pillar that extends miles underground, creating the only high ground for miles, around a whopping 163 feet above sea level, practically a mountain by Louisiana standards. The McElhinney family has been making Tabasco here for over 150 years, and the salt dome's unique properties create perfect growing conditions for these famous red peppers. Fact 18. America's first climate refugees. Ile de Jean Charles, in Terrebonne Parish, has lost 98% of its land since 1955, shrinking from 22,000 acres to barely a quarter mile by 2 miles. Home to Ile de Jean Charles Band, of Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw Indians, the island could no longer sustain its community. In 2016, the tribe secured federal funding to relocate inland, becoming the first federally recognized group forced to leave ancestral land because of land loss. It's a bittersweet milestone, and a warning for other vulnerable Louisiana towns facing the same fate. Fact 17. It rained fish. Remember the Oscar-nominated movie Magnolia, where it rained frogs? Seems impossible, right? Well, this town came close and rained fish. On October 23, 1947, Marksville, Louisiana experienced something straight out of the Old Testament. Fish literally falling from the sky. During a foggy morning, perch and small fish dropped all over town. This wasn't mass hysteria. Newspapers documented the bizarre event. Scientists believe a waterspout siphoned fish from a nearby bayou, carried them in a cloud, then dumped the catch inland like nature's own delivery service. While fish rains have been reported elsewhere, Marksville's remains among North America's most famous. Fact 16. The Jazz Funeral Paradox. New Orleans jazz funerals turn mourning into celebration. A brass band leads the casket with slow, solemn music. But after the burial, the tempo shifts to upbeat jazz as the second line of dancing mourners celebrates the soul's journey to heaven. It's the only place in America where funerals transform into street parties, complete with parasols, music, and dancing. Fact 15. Rockets built in the bayou. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Excuse the pun. The Saturn V rockets that launched every Apollo moon mission were built in New Orleans. NASA's Michoud Assembly Facility in eastern New Orleans was ground zero for America's space race, churning out massive first stages in the 1960s. More than 12,000 workers labored around the clock to meet JFK's deadline, producing 15 Saturn V boosters, meaning every astronaut who walked on the moon launched on a rocket born in the Big Easy. Michoud later built the space shuttle's iconic orange fuel tanks, and today manufactures components for NASA's new Artemis moon program. It's pretty bizarre. One of Earth's largest space hardware factories sits smack in the middle of Louisiana swampland. Fact 14. Frog capital of the world. The town of Rayne, Louisiana, earned its quirky title in the early 1900s, when French entrepreneurs turned frog farming into big business. By the 1930s, the Louisiana Frog Company was the world's largest exporter, shipping 500,000 frogs a year to restaurants, labs, and even NASA for space experiments. Rayne no longer exports frogs, but it embraces the legacy with an annual frog festival, complete with races, frog kissing contests, and colorful murals celebrating its amphibian past. Fact 13. Sportsman's Paradise. Louisiana's nickname isn't just marketing, it's reality. With over 3 million acres of wetlands and endless bayous, the state is heaven for outdoorsmen. A typical day might start with saltwater redfish at dawn, freshwater bass by afternoon, and frog spotlighting or wild boar hunting after dark. The Atchafalaya Swamp produces 90% of America's crawfish, while coastal marshes host millions of ducks and geese. Come spring, Camp Gunnawanna signs dot back roads as families head out for turkey season. Here, living off the land is tradition. Many prefer stocking their freezer with venison, duck, fish, and gator over a trip to the grocery store. Fact 12. Floating tombs. Warning, this one is a little bit morbid. Louisiana's below sea level geography creates one of America's most unusual burial challenges. The dead won't stay buried. In areas like New Orleans, bodies placed in traditional underground graves have an unfortunate habit of floating back to the surface during floods. Definitely not what grieving families have in mind. This watery problem led to Louisiana's famous above-ground cities of the dead, with stone tombs that look like miniature mansions. Fact 11. Living dinosaur fish. Let us introduce you to Louisiana's most prehistoric resident, the alligator gar, a living fossil that's been terrorizing bayou fish since the age of dinosaurs. These ancient beasts can grow over 10 feet long and weigh up to 350 pounds. Imagine a torpedo-shaped fish the size of a kayak, armed with armor-like scales and a snout full of razor-sharp teeth, despite looking like they could bite an alligator.
What's up, Angela?
100 million-year-old survivors are harmless to humans and actually help balance ecosystems by eating rough fish. Locals respect them as the ancient kings of the swamp. And when someone lands a monster, like the 179-pound record holder caught in the Red River in 1997, it makes statewide headlines. Fact 10. Disappearing Lake. The Disappearing Lake. Catahoula Lake in central Louisiana pulls off a vanishing act every year. Each summer, it drains to almost nothing, exposing a mudflat dotted with thousands of tree stumps. By late summer, it looks like a grassy prairie where locals even drive trucks across the lake bed. Come winter, rains and the Little River refill it to 30,000 acres of open water, the state's largest natural freshwater lake. With water levels swinging more than 20 feet annually, it's a globally recognized wetland and a sportsman's dream. Duck hunting in December, crappie fishing in March, all in the same spot. Fact 9. Parishes, not counties. Louisiana is the only U.S. state with parishes instead of counties, a legacy of French and Spanish colonial rule when government districts matched church parishes. Today, there are 64 of them, from Orleans to Lafayette. Functionally, they're counties, but for Louisianans, the word county sounds as out of place as snow on Mardi Gras. It's a small quirk, but a fierce point of pride that reflects the state's unique history under French, Spanish, and American rule. Fact 8. The Bayou State's name mystery. Louisiana's name honors French King Louis XIV, the Sun King. But here's where it gets interesting. Nobody can agree on exactly how it happened. The most accepted theory credits explorer René Robert Cavalli, Sieur de la Salle, who claimed the entire Mississippi River basin for France in 1682 and named it La Louisiane after his king. But some historians argue it was actually named for Louis XIV's heir, Louis, the Grand Dauphin. Either way, Louisiana is literally named after French royalty who never set foot in a bayou, never tasted gumbo, and probably would have fainted at the humidity. Fact 7, towering capital. Louisiana State Capitol in Baton Rouge is the tallest in America, rising 450 feet in 34 stories of Art Deco ambition. Built in 1932 as Governor Huey P. Long's signature project, it was meant to tower as boldly as his politics. And you can see it from 20 miles away. Inside are ornate sculptures and a 27th floor observation deck with sweeping Mississippi views. In 1935, Long was assassinated here, and bullet holes still mark the spot. Today, the building stands as both Louisiana's literal high point and a symbol of the state's refusal to do anything halfway. Fact 6, the Pope's Louisiana visit. In 1987, Pope John Paul II held the largest outdoor mass in U.S. history in Louisiana. This huge gathering took place at the UNO Lakefront Arena parking lot in New Orleans, drawing over 200,000 faithful people. But the real Louisiana magic happened when hurricane winds threatened the visit. Local meteorologists worked around the clock to find a weather window, and miraculously, the storms parted just long enough for the mass. Locals still joke that even Mother Nature respects Louisiana hospitality, and that the Pope's blessing might explain why New Orleans football team finally won a Super Bowl 22 years later. Fact 5, Louisiana's forgotten mental health city. From 1848 to the 1960s, Louisiana ran one of the South's most unusual psychiatric facilities, the East Louisiana State Hospital in Jackson. More like a self-contained city than a hospital, it sprawled over 600 acres, housed thousands of patients, and included farms, a dairy, workshops, even its own fire department. Today, it still operates, now the Eastern Louisiana Mental Health System, but on a much smaller scale. Its hefty grounds and historic buildings remain a reminder of when mental health care meant building entire institutional communities. Fact 4, no reptiles at the party, 200-yard rule, another wacky law for you. One of the strictest animal limitations in the United States is found in Louisiana's parade laws. No reptiles are allowed within 200 yards of a parade. Apparently, Louisiana decided that beads, floats, and brass bands are thrilling enough without adding critters to the mix. The regulation most likely came into effect to prevent disruption during crowded procession settings, seeing as a loose snake could turn a happy street celebration into a chaotic stampede. But who knows? Fact 3, the town that a hurricane erased, except for the cemetery. In 1915, the small town of Frenier in Louisiana was completely obliterated by a Category 4 hurricane, and locals swear it happened exactly as predicted. According to documented accounts, a local voodoo priestess named Julia Brown had warned that when she died, she would take others with her. On the day of her funeral in September 1915, a massive hurricane struck with perfect timing, killing the town's residents and washing away every building, business, and home. Today, all that remains of Frenier is its cemetery, standing like a lonely monument in the middle of Manrock Swamp. Fact 2, Louisiana's underground salt dome empire. Louisiana is riddled with 128 salt domes, giant geological skyscrapers hidden beneath the surface. Some stretch more than 2 miles wide and plunge thousands of feet deep, ranking among North America's largest formations. Famous examples include Avery Island, home of Tabasco, the oil caverns of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and the Five Islands rising from coastal marshes. These domes were born from ancient seas that evaporated millions of years ago, leaving behind salt that slowly pushed upward through softer sediments like natural elevators. Fact 1, black gold beneath your feet. Louisiana's Mississippi River Delta region sits on some of the most fertile soil on planet Earth. And we're talking about dirt so rich it's practically black gold. This incredibly dark, almost black earth represents thousands of years of the mighty Mississippi doing what it does best, collecting the finest sediments, nutrients, and organic matter from 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces, then dumping this agricultural treasure trove across Louisiana's delta. The end result? Alluvian soil so nutrient-packed that it helped build Louisiana's agricultural empire. This is the dirt that made sugarcane plantations profitable, cotton fields legendary, and rice farming so successful that Louisiana became America's 3rd largest rice producer. What about 50 wild facts about Nevada?
What's good, Chop? What are you doing, buddy? Tomato never showed up? I bet not, buddy. I bet not. Yeah, I remember. I remember, pal. I remember. Well, you know, it was probably a Ford. You can't never hear them running anyway. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell, chap. But we're just over here running miscellaneous things tonight, looking up random shit. He got a Flintstone pedal him, huh? Hey, appreciate you stopping in, bub. You're always welcome here. I'm just trying something new. Seeing, thinking about doing videos, maybe doing a couple lives from cave explorations in the area. Maybe going live from the river. Just, you know, miscellaneous stuff like that. Do some nature shit. Just over here on my channel, anyway. We're still going to do music on Muddy Traits. Yeah, that's what I figured too, Chuck. Get away from the bickering back and forth. Go find something else to do besides argue with people on YouTube. And trolls can all get blocked. What's up, Slinko? What's good, buddy? Hey, cut it out, dog. Uh-oh, Slinko, don't you go slinging no names like that around here. Putting labels on me now. There I go. Oh, but you know, why not, right? Why not follow the leader, as they say? I'm joking, by the way. He's definitely not doing anything with nature. He's too worried about if somebody's going to catch his ass outside. Yeah. Yeah, no shit, right, child? That's what, yeah, I'm not going over there. I actually unsubscribed from a bunch of people today just so I didn't have to see their shit anymore. Because I don't want to. I know how I am. If I see it, I'll react. Oh, Stabby got stabbed by Chaotic. Good shot, Chaotic. Good shot, my friend. Stabby does, like, yeah. Doesn't matter what you say, they still come. I guess they just have to find out the hard way. One shot, one kill. That's right, my friend. That's right. Hey, you guys like Troy Landry? Look here, we got some Bayou Treasures, Swamp Mysteries with Troy Landry from Swamp People. You guys know who Troy is, don't you? Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do, Chuck. I'm gonna be honest, like for real. Yeah, even when people send it to me, I'm not even gonna pay attention to that anymore. And if someone sends me it too much, I'll just, cut ties. Because when I say I don't want to be involved in this shit no more, I'm serious. Ain't no reason to. I don't have anything to prove. I'm not here to prove nothing. So the only thing I'm here to prove is Slinko. He picks weird people to go on bike rides with. And Slinko, how you keep asking men to go on bike rides with you and they ain't got no bike, bro? I'm just fucking around. Slinko knows.
I always talking shit.
I know. How am I supposed to get away from it if I'm always talking shit, right?
I know.
Part of it, I guess. I'm learning too, right? It's not like something figured out.
Well, listen, it's one thing to bust balls. You know what I mean?
Well,
no Diddy.
Everybody should be able to have a good time and crack.
Everybody needs a little ball busting every once in a while.
Shouldn't have to worry about every single word that comes out of your mouth being prosecuted.
Hell, my cousin makes fun of me daily.
I mean, is it all right that I make fun of me daily? No.
What's that?
I said that's no different than me making fun of me daily, right? I make fun of myself daily. The dog's got the daggum zoomies in here. Yeah, we'll be back on Muddy Traits tomorrow, guys. Oh, Chuck, like I said, Bob, you're welcome anytime. Anytime. I was just looking for random stuff, that's all. Oh, snap. You and Chaotic. Now, see, I know Chaotic done sold his motorcycle, Slinko.
Sorry, but peanuts are different than tree nuts.
See, he's wanting that nut to nut ride again. Would Chaotic tell him no? You know, who was I talking to about it the other day? Maybe it was yesterday. You know, oh, never mind. It was about rap. I think it was Nuggy I was talking to. Chaotic was on the back of your what, Slinko?
Oh, I got something better for you.
Oh, not the butt.
But you went on that ride anyway, Chaotic? He said the one ride was enough. That means you did it, bud.
Not the butt. And
did he pay you $1,000? They can't listen.
I'm starting to rethink this YouTube shit.
I cannot even believe them when they say it's not the butt, because I so know it's more like nut to nut. Think about it. So they can look at. I mean,
I don't want to think about it. And I'm
they
starting to
want to
wonder
look
why
at each
you're
other's.
thinking about
They got to be able to look in each other's eyes while they're cruising down the road on that motorcycle. Hey, Mrs. Slingo. I didn't stick around for the whole show on Triple T's, man. I crashed out pretty early. I was there at the beginning. Yeah, it was pretty wild. They were saying some wild shit to both of them boys up there, but that ain't none of my business, really, I guess. Chop was in the sidecar, he said. Hey, Chop was in the sidecar holding the camera. Was there $1,000 involved in this at least, guys? I know, Chaotic. That's what I'm saying. I knew you sold yours. And then what? You instantly jumped on the bike with Slingo, right? You sold yours and was like, all right, Slingo, I'm free to ride nut to nut. Let's roll. Get on our bikes and ride. I mean, let's get on your bike and ride. No, just a pumpkin. Okay. I hear there's ways you can make $1,000 off of a pumpkin, though, Slingo. I'm sure I'm getting clipped left and right, but who cares? Clip it real good. What do we want to look up? Nuggy?
What's that, bro?
So what do we want to look up today? Oh, you know what I think I'll do? No, Chaotic. He ruined sitting down for his friends. Josh, I mean, maybe some people get their Christmas shopping done, but I never get it done. Mine end up going on into at New Year's. They continue to, because most of the stuff that I order doesn't even arrive on time. That's all right, though. They still get it. Hey, let's look at 16 deadliest 1980s muscle cars ever made. How about that? That sounds pretty cool. I don't know. Some people like sports. I like cars, trucks. I like vehicles. And Slinkos are always my hero. A new 883, huh? Well, see, I heard he got that. He was getting that because you were too short to get on his full dresser. And besides that, he wanted to get you a little closer to him. And you know how the made 83s are shaped with the tank, how it goes up? You know? That's so you slide down, nut to nut. It sounds kind of like church bells going off when they clash together, right? Shut up, Bud Daddy. What are you doing?
Some decades are remembered for innovation, others for restraint. But the 1980s, that was the decade that refused to die quietly. While the world thought American muscle was finished, strangled by emissions laws and insurance premiums,
one of the toughest
a
cars
handful
ever.
of engineers kept the fire burning. These weren't the giants of 1969. They were leaner, meaner, and in some cases, more dangerous than anything that came before. Today, we're counting down 16 deadliest 80s muscle cars ever made. Machines that proved horsepower never truly dies.
Always hated
it
the
just adapts.
Hatchback Mustang.
Number 16, the 1984 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. It didn't look like much at first glance. A front-wheel drive hatchback with angular lines.
I would definitely put a fucking turbo on a Yugo, and then I'd put a body lift on it.
Beneath
and
that
some,
unassuming shell, Dodge had planted something genuinely lethal.
Some real
a
skinny farm
turbocharged
implement tires
2.2
on
liter
it.
four-cylinder
I'd
that
take
delivered
that
one
72, right?
142 horsepower. In 1984, that was respectable. What made it deadly wasn't just the power, though. It was the handling. The Daytona Turbo Z could corner like it was on rails, and its light front end meant you could rotate it through turns with throttle alone. For drivers used to heavy muscle from the 60s, this was a revelation. It weighed just over 2,600 pounds, which meant every ounce of boost counted. The quarter mile came in around 16 seconds flat, not earth-shattering, but quick enough to surprise Camaros.
You guys
at the
ever watch
stoplight.
Vice Grip?
What made it
Garage?
dangerous was its unpredictability.
Cool.
Turbo lag was real in the 80s, and when that boost hit, it hit hard. Snap oversteer could catch inexperienced drivers off guard, especially in the rain. The front-wheel drive layout meant torque steer was always lurking, ready to yank the wheel from your hands during hard acceleration. Dodge had built a front driver that could bite, and it wore that reputation proudly. This was muscle for a new generation. Smaller, sharper, and just as willing to put you in a ditch if you weren't paying attention. Number 15, the 1982 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 Indy
I'm a little
500
partial to
pace
this
car.
one.
Chevrolet knew how to make an entrance. When they were selected to pace the 1982 Indianapolis 500, they
Bad
didn't just
Chad,
slap some
yeah.
decals on a base model and call it done. They built a limited edition Z28 with
Bad
graphics
Chad
that
is pretty
screamed
good.
speed,
Pretty
even
good
when it
what
was
he
standing
does.
still. Silver and blue stripes wrapped the
I like
body,
the
and those
less known
iconic
ones,
hockey
though,
stick
like,
decals
there's
ran
this
down the
Casey's
side
Customs.
like
You guys
racing
watch
stripes
that?
from a different dimension.
He likes
Under
to
the
take
hood
old
sat the
vehicles
venerable
and graft them on
5.0
to
liter
chassis.
V8, pushing out 165 horsepower through a 4-barrel carburetor. By modern standards, that sounds tame.
You got
But
a
in
black one, what,
1982,
82?
when the average family sedan was wheezing out 90 horses, this was a war machine. The Crossfire fuel injection system would arrive later, but this carbureted beast had character. A lumpy idle, a growl that rattled windows, and a torque curve that could spin those rear tires from a dead stop all the way through second gear. The real danger here wasn't just the power, it was the chassis. Chevy had dialed in the suspension for performance,
An 89,
which meant it was stiff,
Z78, or
responsive,
Z28?
and absolutely unforgiving. Hit a bump
I was
mid-corner,
gonna say
and the
Z78.
rear
Yeah,
end
that would just
could
makes
step
it
out without
71
warning.
and then
The steering was quick for the era,
28.
but that meant overcorrections happened
Hey,
fast.
didn't
Add in
wasn't there
rear-wheel
a
drive,
Z34?
bias-ply tires if you were
was
running
it the
period-correct
Cavalier,
rubber,
or was
and a
it
dose of
the
youthful overconfidence,
oh,
and you had a recipe for disaster. This wasn't a muscle car
I think it
that
was the
forgave
Cavalier.
mistakes. It punished them. Number 14, the 1983 Ford Mustang GT.
WD Speed Shop? I'll check that out.
Ford brought the Fox body Mustang back from the dead in 1983, and they did it with attitude. The GT model came equipped with a 5.0-liter V8 that produced 175 horsepower. Not a lot by classic muscle standards, but enough to make the lightweight Fox chassis come alive. This was the year Ford started to remember what performance meant. The car weighed just over 3,000 pounds, which gave it a power-to-weight ratio that felt genuinely aggressive. Quarter-mile times hovered around the high 15-second range, which made it competitive with nearly anything else on American roads at the time. But the real story was the handling. Ford had stiffened the suspension, added front and rear sway bars, and bolted on some genuinely sticky Goodyear Eagle GT tires. This thing could corner. The problem was that it could also snap. The rear suspension geometry was primitive by
He said
modern
I have
standards,
one of those too.
and liftoff oversteer was a constant threat. Back off the throttle mid-corner and the tail would swing wide, turning a spirited drive into a white-knuckle drift. Inexperienced drivers found themselves facing the wrong direction more than once.
Hey, what was the other?
The brakes were adequate at best.
The
which
European
meant stopping
Ford,
distances were longer than confidence levels
Mustang
suggested.
was like the
and yet,
Sprint.
that was part
Was
of
it
the
the
appeal.
Ford?
This was a
What was
muscle
it?
car that
Spirit?
demanded respect. It rewarded skill and punished hubris.
It
In the
looked
hands
just
of
like
someone
that,
who
only
knew what they were
had
doing,
different badging
it
on
was a
it. It didn't
scalpel.
say,
In
Mustang.
the wrong hands, it was a wrecking ball. The Fox
Yeah,
body
it was
became a
called.
cult classic, precisely because it was so unforgiving, so raw, so willing to remind you that driving fast requires more than just a heavy right foot. Number
I know,
13,
Sligo. What
the
color don't you have?
1985 Pontiac Trans Am. The third generation
Always been a
Trans Am
big fan
arrived
of
in
the Pontiac.
1982, but by 1985,
I
Pontiac
like
had
them all,
refined
though.
it
I
into
can't
something
lie.
truly menacing. The standard engine was still the 5.0-liter
Yeah,
V8.
see, I like the old
Now was
better,
making
man.
closer
I
to
just,
200 horsepower, thanks to
100.
I got in
two-port
that,
fuel injection.
I got in that
That
car
might not
today,
sound like
dude.
much,
There's just
but
so
in a
much
car that
shit.
weighed around
Like there's ball
3,200
warmers and
pounds
coolers.
and
There's
had the
fucking hand
aerodynamics
steering
of a
wheel,
fighter jet,
fucking
it was
heater.
enough.
There's
The Trans
digital
Am could hit
everything. Like
60 miles per
I
hour
don't,
in just
I don't
under
even know where to
7
begin.
seconds, and the quarter mile came
You'll
in around
figure it out.
15 and a half seconds.
I know
For
I
the
will, but I
mid-80s,
like old
that was
better.
genuinely quick.
Capri,
But
you're
speed
right,
wasn't what
chaotic.
made this
That's
car
what it
deadly.
was. It was
It was
the
the
Capri.
mystique. Drivers who climbed behind the wheel thought
First
they were
vehicle
piloting
ever tore a motor apart.
KITT
Ford Capri.
from Knight Rider, or channeling Burt Reynolds in
Well,
Smokey
I'm
and the
I'm
Bandit.
on mute for a little bit. I
That
gotta
confidence
go take a
often
shower real
exceeded
quick.
their actual driving ability.
well, it was the
The
first
Trans Am had a low,
motor I
wide
ever seen
stance
pulled
that
apart. Which
inspired
was
aggressive
actually, it was a
cornering,
302,
but the chassis wasn't
and
quite
that's
as
not what the
planted
car
as it
originally
looked.
came with.
The rear
I
end
think it
could
was a
break loose
four-cylinder
without much
car, if
provocation,
I'm not mistaken.
especially on cold
And the
tires
car
or
didn't work
damp
out too
pavement.
well either
And once it started to slide,
after it was done.
correcting it required finesse and quick hands. The steering was responsive, but not communicative. You didn't always feel what the front tires were doing until it was too late. Add in the fact that many of these cars were driven by younger buyers who saw them as invincible, and you had a combination that led to more than a few guardrail encounters. This was a car that looked fast sitting still, and that made people forget that looking fast and being controllable weren't always the same thing. Number 12, the 1987 Buick GNX. Now we're getting serious. The Buick GNX wasn't just a muscle car, it was a statement. A middle finger to anyone who thought American performance was dead.
Just a Buick.
Buick took their already menacing Grand National and turned it into something that could embarrass Corvettes and Porsches without breaking a sweat. Under that sinister black hood sat a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 that cranked out 276 horsepower and 3 160-pound feet
You guys
of
ever
torque.
watch old drag
Those were
racing?
factory numbers, and everyone knew they were conservative. Independent testing showed the
I watched a
GNX
lot
was
of the
making
old drag
closer to
racing,
300
and
horses at
a
the
guy
crank.
took one of these
It could
to the
blast
drag
from
strip
0
and
to
put them
60 in
against
under 5
V8s
seconds
and was
and
kicking
run the quarter
everybody's
mile
butt.
in the mid-13s.
Luckily, good
In
old Bob
1987,
Glidden come
that was
along
Ferrari territory.
and put him in his place.
What made it deadly was the power delivery. This wasn't a smooth, linear rush. It was a violent surge. The turbo would
remember
spool
Bob
up and then,
Glidden?
boom, you were shoved back into the seat like you'd been rear-ended by a
I
freight train.
remember him so much
The rear
because he
tires
won
would
so
light up
much,
even
and I
with
didn't
traction
like
control,
the fact that
doing
he
its
didn't
best
drive.
to keep things civil. And because this was based on a
He
mid-sized
kept winning
sedan
for
platform,
Ford and Dodge.
the chassis wasn't
Oh,
exactly
damn.
designed for this kind of punishment. The steering was numb, the brakes were adequate at best, and the suspension was tuned for straight-line speed more than cornering finesse. Get on the power too early coming out of a turn, and the rear end would step out, sending you into an unplanned drift. The GNX demanded respect. It was fast,
Well, see, the Grand
furious,
National, the
and
G,
unforgiving. Only 547 were built, which made them instant
they're
collectors.
basically the same
But it
car,
also
dude.
meant that every time one left the showroom, there was a decent chance it would end up wrapped around something solid.
I think this one's
The
worth
all-black
more
paint
because there
scheme
was less
added
of
to
them
the
made.
intimidation factor. This car
could
looked
be
like it
wrong about
belonged
that
in a
too.
villain's garage, and it drove like it too. Number 11, the 1989 Chevrolet Camaro IROCZ.
There's Seiko's car.
The IROCZ was the poster child of late 80s excess. It had ground effects, hood louvers, aggressive wheels, and a name that came from the International Race of Champions series. This wasn't a subtle car. It was a rolling declaration of intent. The top engine option was the 5.7-liter V8 pushing out 240 horsepower and 345 pound-feet of torque.
That's slick. That
was
white and
enough to
black,
make
I
the
like that.
IROCZ genuinely quick. 0 to 60 came in just over 6 seconds, and the quarter mile passed in the low 15s. For 1989, that was serious performance. The handling was also surprisingly good. Chevy had tuned the suspension to be both comfortable and capable, which meant you could carve corners with confidence. But here's where it got dangerous. The IROCZ looked so good that people forgot it still had limitations. The rear suspension used a solid axle, which meant it could hop and skip under hard acceleration or over uneven pavement. Mid-corner bumps could unsettle the whole car, and if you were already pushing the limits, that could send you sideways in a hurry. The brakes were better than earlier models, but still not up to the task of repeatedly hauling this 3,300-pound beast down from triple-digit speeds. Fade was real, and more than one track day ended with boiling brake fluid and a long,
Black
terrifying
with
runoff
T-tops.
into the grass.
Love T-tops.
The real danger, though, was the culture. The IROCZ became a symbol.
I had a 97
of speed,
Formula
style,
with
of a certain
T-tops,
kind of 80s attitude.
6-speed,
And that meant it attracted drivers
sweet
who wanted to live
car,
up to the
the
image,
LT1.
even if their skills didn't match their ambitions.
But I had
It
to
was a
sell it
car
to
that
pay for a
rewarded
lawyer
talent
'cause I was
and
going-
exposed pretenders. The combination
Yeah.
of genuine capability
So-
and widespread appeal meant these cars were everywhere, and that meant they were crashed everywhere too. Number 10, the 1986 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. By 1986, Pontiac had perfected the third-generation Firebird formula. The Trans Am wore its aggression on its sleeve, bold graphics, a ground-hugging stance, and a front end that looked like it wanted to devour the road. Under the hood, the top engine was the tuned port-injected 5.0-liter V8, making around 210 horsepower. That might not sound apocalyptic, but in a car that weighed just over 3,200 pounds, it was more than enough to get into trouble. The Trans Am could hit 60 in around 7 seconds and run the quarter in the mid-15s. More importantly, it handled. Pontiac had tuned the suspension to be sharp and responsive, with limited body roll and surprisingly good grip. The WS6 performance package added even more capability, with stiffer springs and specially tuned dampers that made the car feel like it was glued to the road. But that confidence came at a cost. The car was tail-happy. The rear suspension geometry meant that throttle inputs mid-corner could quickly overwhelm the rear tires, especially if they were worn or if the pavement was anything less than perfect. Lift-off oversteer was a constant threat, and the steering, while quick, didn't always communicate what was happening at the front axle until it was too late. The brakes were also a weak point. They were adequate for normal driving, but not up to the task of hard, repeated stops. Fade set in quickly, and that meant stopping distances grew alarmingly long after a few aggressive runs. What made this car deadly wasn't just its capabilities.
Yeah, I agree.
It was the way it made you feel. Sit behind that steering wheel, fire up that V8, and you felt invincible. And that feeling led to a lot of bad decisions on back roads and highway on-ramps across America. Number 9, the 1985 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS.
Yes. I don't know why I
Chevrolet
love
took
that
their
boat.
Dowdy Monte Carlo
I
and
love
turned
that
it into something menacing with the SS package. It was a strange choice, a two-door coupe with a formal roofline, dressed
Super
up with
heavy.
ground effects, bucket seats, and a 5.0-liter V8 under the hood. The engine made 180 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much, but the Monte Carlo SS wasn't about brute force. It was about presence. This was NASCAR homologation made street legal. The aerodynamics were slippery for the era, and the car had a planted, stable feel at highway speeds. Chevy designed the nose and tail specifically to slice through the air with minimal drag, which is why the SS could cruise comfortably at speeds that would make other cars of the era feel unstable. But that
I had
stability
an
was
82 that I
deceptive.
burnt down in my
The Monte
driveway
Carlo
before
SS
I
was
ever
built
got
on a rear-wheel drive
driver's license.
platform with a live rear axle, and that meant it could get squirrely in a hurry if you weren't careful. The weight distribution was nose-heavy, which made the front end plow in tight corners. But get on the throttle too early and the rear would break loose, turning understeer into oversteer in the blink of an eye. The steering was slow and vague, which meant corrections had to be made early and with authority. Wait too long and you'd be along for the ride. The brakes were also marginal, especially for a car that weighed over 3,500 pounds. Stopping distances were long, and fade was a real concern on any kind of spirited drive. What made the Monte Carlo SS deadly was the disconnect between expectation and reality. It looked like a race car, and Chevy marketed it as one, but it was still a heavy, front-heavy coupe that required skill and respect to drive quickly. A lot of people learned that lesson the hard way, discovering that NASCAR looks and NASCAR handling are two very different
oldest
things.
son once right there.
Number 8, the 1989 Ford Mustang GT.
There you go. There's your car.
By the end of the decade, Ford had turned the Fox body Mustang into a genuinely formidable machine. The 1989 GT came with a 5.0 liter V8 that produced 225 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. That was a significant jump from earlier models, and it showed. The Mustang could now hit 60 in under 6 seconds and run the quarter mile in the mid-14s. For 1989, that was legitimately fast. The handling had also improved. Ford had stiffened the chassis, upgraded the brakes, and fitted wider tires. The result was a car that could corner hard and brake late, but it was still a Fox body, which meant it still had quirks. The rear suspension was a live axle with 4 links, and it could hop and skip under hard acceleration or over rough pavement. Mid-corner bumps could unsettle the entire rear end, sending the car into a sudden, unplanned drift.
Now, how did
the steering was quick, but not particularly communicative, which meant you didn't always know when the front tires were about to give up. And the brakes, while improved, were still marginal for sustained hard use. Track days often ended with warped rotors and smoking pads. What made the 89 GT deadly was its accessibility. It was relatively affordable, easy to modify, and fast enough to make inexperienced drivers feel like heroes. That combination led to a lot of overconfidence.
It was
and even more crashed Mustangs. This was a car that rewarded smooth inputs and punished aggression. But it looked so good and sounded so mean that people often forgot that part. The aftermarket support was incredible even back then, which meant young drivers could bolt on more power before they learned to handle what they already had. Number 7, the 1988 Chevrolet Camaro IROC Z with 5.7 liter V8. The 1988 IROC-Z was the pinnacle of third-generation Camaro performance. Chevy had ironed out most of the rough edges by this point, and the result was a car that could genuinely hustle. The 5.7-liter V8 produced 230 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque, which was enough to propel this 3,300-pound coupe from 0 to 60 in just over 6 seconds. The quarter mile came in around 15 seconds flat, but the real story was the chassis. Chevy had tuned the suspension to be sharp and responsive, with minimal body roll and surprisingly good grip. The IROC-Z could carry serious speed through corners, and the steering, while not perfectly communicative, was quick enough to make rapid corrections. But that capability came with a catch. The solid rear axle could still hop and skip, especially over rough pavement or during hard acceleration. And the rear suspension geometry meant that lift-off oversteer was always lurking. Back off the throttle mid-corner, and the tail would swing wide, turning a controlled slide into a full-on spin if you weren't ready for it. The brakes were also a weak spot. They were adequate for street driving, but not up to the task of repeated hard stops. Fade set in quickly, and that meant stopping distances grew alarmingly long after just a few aggressive runs. What made this car deadly was its competence. It was good enough to make you feel like a hero, right up until it reminded you that physics doesn't care about confidence. More than one IROC-Z driver learned that lesson while staring at a crumpled front end and a destroyed guardrail. The tuned port injection system delivered power smoothly, which made it easy to forget just how much thrust you were unleashing until the scenery started blurring past the windows. Number 6, the 1987 Shelby Charger
you're right. They were perfect.
GLHS.
For the what is this thing?
Carroll Shelby wasn't done with performance just because the 60s were over. In 1987, he teamed up with Dodge to create one of the wildest front-wheel drive performance cars ever built. The Shelby Charger GLHS, which stood for Goes Like Hellsmore, was a turbocharged pocket rocket that could embarrass cars twice its price. Under the hood sat a turbocharged 2.2-liter four-cylinder that cranked out 175 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque.
Scream,
that might not sound like much, but this car weighed just over
Mustang, I don't know what the hell that
2,400
is.
pounds. The power-to-weight ratio was genuinely impressive, and the turbo lag was real. When that boost hit, it hit hard, lighting up the front tires and pulling the steering wheel in your hands. The GLHS could hit 60 in under 7 seconds and run the quarter mile in the high 14 seconds. For a front-wheel drive hatchback, that was astounding, but it was also dangerous. Torque steer was a constant issue. Get on the power hard, and the car would lurch to one side, requiring constant steering corrections. Mid-corner acceleration was even worse. Apply throttle too aggressively, and the front end would plow wide, scrubbing off speed and sending you toward the outside of the turn. And because this was a front driver, snap oversteer wasn't something you had to worry about. Understeer was the enemy, and it was relentless. The brakes were also marginal, which meant stopping distances were longer than you'd expect for such a light car. Only 500 GLHS models were built, which made them instant collectibles. But it also meant that every time one hit the street, there was a decent chance the driver was about to learn a hard lesson about front-wheel drive dynamics. Shelby had taken a platform never meant for performance and turned it into something genuinely lethal. Number 5, the 1984 Ford Mustang SVO. Ford decided to build a Mustang that wasn't about cubic inches and V8 rumble. The SVO was something different. A turbocharged, fuel-injected, tech-forward performance car that prioritized handling and efficiency over raw displacement. Under the hood sat a turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder that produced 175 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. That might not sound like much compared to the V8 models, but the SVO weighed around 3,000 pounds, and the Turbo 4 delivered its power in a way that felt explosive. Turbo lag was significant, which meant there was a pause between when you stabbed the throttle and when the boost hit. And when it did hit, it hit hard, lighting up the rear tires and sending you hurtling forward. The SVO could hit 60 in around 7.5 seconds and run the quarter mile in the mid-15s. But the real magic was in the handling. Ford fitted the SVO with adjustable Coney shocks, a unique suspension setup, four-wheel disc brakes, and 16-inch wheels with performance rubber. This thing could corner. The steering was sharp, the chassis was balanced, and the brakes were genuinely good. But that capability was also dangerous. The SVO made you feel like you could carry absurd speeds through corners, and most of the time, you could. But the rear suspension was still a live axle, which meant it could hop and skip over bumps, hit a mid-corner imperfection, and the rear end could step out without warning, turning a controlled slide into a white-knuckle moment. The SVO demanded respect. It rewarded smooth, deliberate inputs, and punished ham-fisted aggression. And because it looked so understated, no flashy graphics, no hood scoops, a lot of people underestimated it. That was a mistake. The SVO was a thinking man's muscle,
later in the 90s,
it separated the skilled from the lucky with brutal efficiency. Number 4, the 1989 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am GTA. The GTA was Pontiac's answer to the question, what if we took the Trans Am and made it even more extreme? The result was a car that combined serious power with genuinely impressive handling. Under the hood sat the 5.7-liter V8, tuned port injected and producing 240 horsepower and 345 pound-feet of torque. That was enough to push the GTA from 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds and through the quarter mile in the low 15s. But the real story was the chassis. Pontiac fitted the GTA with WS6 performance suspension, which included stiffer springs, bigger sway bars, and specially tuned shocks. They also added four-wheel disc brakes, which were a rarity in the 80s. The result was a car that could corner hard, brake late, and accelerate out of turns with authority. The GTA felt like it had been engineered with a track day in mind, not just straight-line acceleration, but it was also a car that could kill you if you weren't careful. The rear suspension was still a live axle, and it could hop and skip under hard acceleration or over rough pavement. Mid-corner bumps could unsettle the entire rear end, sending the car into a sudden slide. And because the GTA had so much grip, when it finally let go, it let go suddenly. There was no gentle progression from grip to slip, just a sudden transition that required lightning-fast reflexes to catch. The brakes, while good, could still fade under hard, repeated use. And the steering, though responsive, didn't always
They were the
communicate what was
backbone,
happening
what,
at the
in the
front axle.
80s?
What made the GTA deadly
Yeah, I guess
was its
so.
competence.
Yeah.
It was good enough to make you believe you were invincible, right up until it reminded
The
you that you
Fiero
weren't.
was more
This was a
90s.
car that demanded respect,
Pinto.
skill, and humility. Forget any of those.
Yeah, more.
And you were in
more
trouble.
80s,
The
70s.
GTA represented the
80s,
pinnacle
I guess.
of what Pontiac could squeeze from the F-body platform, and it was glorious and terrifying in equal measure.
I know, okay.
Number
He
3,
still
the
teases guys
1987
for $1
Buick
million
Regal
bucks.
Grand National. Before the GNX, there was the Grand National. And while it didn't have the outrageous performance of its more famous sibling, it was still a car that could catch you off guard in the worst possible way. The Grand National came with a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6
There
that
it
produced
is.
245 horsepower and 355 pound-feet of torque. That was enough to propel
I've
this
driven one. I've never
3,500-pound
owned one,
coupe
guys, but I
from
got
0
the
to
power.
60 in under 7 seconds and through
I
the
had one of
quarter
those at
mile
the
in the
shop
mid
for a while.
14s. For 1987, that was legitimately quick. But
And it
the
was
power
in
delivery was the real story.
2022,
The
just
turbo
like
would spool up and then wham! You'd be shoved back into the seat like someone had just lit the afterburners. The rear tires would break loose, the back end would step out, and suddenly you were in a drift whether you
Get
wanted
that-
to be or not.
that
The chassis wasn't
body
built for this
shuffle,
kind of punishment.
baby.
The Grand National was based on a mid-sized sedan platform, which meant the steering was
You know
slow
about
and
that
vague,
body
the
shuffle.
suspension was soft, and the brakes were marginal at best. The rear suspension used a solid axle with coil springs, which meant it could hop and skip under hard acceleration. And because the car was nose-heavy, the weight transfer under braking was dramatic, making it easy to lock up the front wheels and plow straight into whatever you were trying to avoid. What made the Grand National deadly was the combination of brutal power and mediocre chassis dynamics. It was fast in a straight line, terrifying in the corners, and unforgiving of mistakes. Because it looked so understated,
Just hanging
just a
out, bro.
blacked out
Finish
coupe,
looking at cars,
no
bro.
flashy graphics, people often underestimated it until it was too late. The Grand National proved that you didn't need a V8 to build a muscle car that could bite, and it did so with an attitude that was pure 80s cool. Number 2, the 1987 Chevrolet Camaro, IROCZ with TPI.
They
and
seem to
performance
have
handling
an
package.
obsession with the Camaro and Firebird, bro.
This was the ultimate expression
Maybe
of
those are
third
just the
generation
better
Camaro
cars of
performance.
the
Chevy took the already
80s.
potent IROC Z and added the tuned port injection 5.7-liter V8, along with the 1 LE performance handling package. The result was a car that could run with nearly anything on American roads. The engine produced 225 horsepower and 340 pound-feet of torque, which was enough to push the car from 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds. The quarter mile came in the low 15 seconds, but the real magic was in the handling. The 1 LE package included stiffer springs, bigger sway bars, revised shock tuning, and upgraded brakes. The result was a car that could corner flat, brake hard, and accelerate out of turns with minimal drama. Chevy had essentially built a street-legal race car, one that could hang with European sports cars on a twisty
I
road
agree with you,
while still
bro.
offering V8 rumble and
Damn,
American muscle
I
attitude.
agree with you.
But it was also a car that could bite. The rear suspension was still a solid axle, which meant it could hop and skip over rough pavement, or during hard acceleration. Mid-corner bumps could unsettle the entire car,
Yeah.
sending it into a
When
sudden
all the
violent
cars look
drift.
the same,
And because the
it's kinda boring,
IROCZ had so much grip from the upgraded suspension
Why
and sticky
everyone's
tires,
turning back
when
to
it
the
finally
old
let go,
cars.
it let go fast.
Something with
There was no gentle
some
slide,
curves.
just a sudden transition
It's
from
good.
grip to slip that required instant reflexes to catch. The brakes, while improved, could still fade under sustained hard use, and the steering, though quick, didn't always telegraph what was happening at the front axle. What made this car deadly was its Jekyll and Hyde personality. Most of the time, it was composed, capable, and
You know, say
confidence
Jekyll and
inspiring, but push it past the limit, and it would snap into oversteer so quickly that only experienced drivers could catch it. This was a car that rewarded skill and
What
destroyed
year did
ego.
they say this
The
one
1
was?
LE package was a relatively
87?
rare option, which meant most people had never experienced just how capable a third-gen Camaro could be until they found themselves trying to keep up with one on a canyon road. Number 1, the 1987 Buick GNX, the ultimate 80s assassin. At the
But
top
they
of our
already
list
showed the
sits the
GNX.
king of 80s muscle, the Buick GNX.
Yeah, they showed
We
the
mentioned it
GNX.
earlier, but it deserves this top spot for a reason.
Okay, they
This
do.
wasn't just a fast car, it was a statement. A middle finger to everyone who said American performance was dead. Buick took their already menacing Grand National, handed it over to McLaren Performance Technologies and ASC, and told them to build something apocalyptic. What they created was a car that could humble Corvettes, embarrass Porsches, and rewrite the rules of what a muscle car could be. Under the hood sat a turbocharged and intercooled 3.8-liter V6 that officially made 276 horsepower and 3 160 pound-feet of torque. But those numbers were conservative to the point of comedy. Independent testing showed the GNX was making closer to 300 horsepower at the crank, and the torque was even more underrated. This thing could launch.
You're
0
right,
to
Snake
60 came in 4.6
That's when they
seconds.
realized that the
The
V6
quarter mile
could
passed
be
in
wound up so
12.7
tight.
seconds at 113 miles per hour. In 1987, those were supercar numbers, Ferrari and Porsche territory. And Buick did it with a turbocharged V6 in a blacked-out coupe that looked like it was carved from a single block of menace. The modifications that McLaren made were significant. A ceramic turbocharger, a low-restriction exhaust, a specially calibrated transmission, wider wheels, and unique fender flares that gave the car an even more aggressive stance. But the speed was only part of the story. What made the GNX truly deadly
Oh, I
was
bet,
the way it
Crawfish. I've
delivered
seen
that
them at
power.
drag
The
strips,
turbo
man,
lag
and
was
they're
real.
just like,
A brief
you know,
pause
for
where
daily
nothing happened,
drivers, you
and
can't
then the
touch those.
boost would hit
Now
like a
the
freight
Tesla
train. The rear tires would
can
light up,
touch
the
it.
back end would step out, and you'd be
The
fighting the
Tesla
steering
can stick
wheel
with
just
it.
to keep the car pointed straight.
Just
The
about
chassis
every
wasn't
time I seen a
designed for this
Tesla at a
The
daily
steering was
driver, they
numb
always
and
seem to
slow.
win.
The suspension was soft, and the brakes were barely adequate. This was a car built to go fast in a straight line, not carve corners. Get on the power mid-turn, and the rear end would break loose, sending you into an unplanned drift that required real skill to catch. The weight distribution was nose-heavy, which made the front end plow in tight corners. But get the tail out, and suddenly you had a rear-drive drift machine that demanded total commitment. The brakes were the real
I mean, let's be honest,
They were
guys.
adequate for street driving,
What
but
real
absolutely not up to the task of
muscle
repeatedly
car
hauling this
won't
3,700
slide the
pound
acid
beast
out on you?
down from
You know what
triple
I'm saying?
digit
That's what
speeds.
makes it part of a
Fades set
fucking
in
muscle
quickly,
car.
and stopping distances
Keep
grew
talking like it's a
alarmingly
bad
long
thing.
after just
I
a
mean,
few
it's not
hard
a good
ramps.
thing, but
What made the
you know it
GNX the
happens, so.
deadliest muscle car of the 80s was the combination of brutal power,
That's why you
mediocre
only put
chassis
so much
dynamics,
horsepower on
and
the
an
streets,
attitude that said,
Slinko.
I dare you to keep up. Only 547 were built, and each one was a rolling testament to the idea that horsepower never dies, it just evolves. This was Buick's way of saying goodbye to the Turbo 6 era, and they did it by building a car that could embarrass nearly anything on the road. The GNX wasn't just fast, it was ferocious, it was unforgiving, and it was absolutely undeniably deadly in the hands of anyone who didn't respect what they were sitting on top of. Collectors today pay six-figure sums for clean examples, but back in '87, you could walk into a Buick dealership and drive home with a car that could outrun a Corvette for less money. That kind of performance accessibility meant these cars ended up in hands that weren't always ready for what they'd unleashed. These 16 machines weren't just cars. They were rolling testaments to an era that refused to surrender. While
And
the
we got
world thought
12
muscle was
worst
dead,
1990s
these engineers kept the
muscle
flame alive
cars
with
of all time.
turbochargers, fuel
You guys
injection,
got time for
and
that?
sheer determination. Some were brutal, others were sophisticated, but every single one could put you in a guardrail if you forgot that horsepower and skill don't always arrive in equal measure. The 80s taught us that muscle could evolve, that power could come from unexpected places, and that danger didn't disappear just because displacement got smaller. Which of these 80s legends would you risk your license for? Drop your answer in the comments
Oh, there's
below.
a couple
And
of
if you
them I
love
just
stories from
know.
the decade that kept the muscle car dream alive, hit that
Got a
subscribe button.
whole nother meaning to me, boys. This is worst 90s muscle car.
The 1990s were supposed to mark a rebirth for American performance. The malaise era was over, fuel injection had arrived, and Detroit promised to return
Ford's
to
coming
glory.
out.
But not every car wearing a performance badge delivered on that
Is that
promise.
Buick?
Today, we're counting down the 12 worst muscle cars out of the 1990s. Vehicles that carried legendary names but couldn't back them up, cars that looked fast but drove slow, and Detroit's most embarrassing attempts to
Hey,
convince
that's a
us
pimp way to
that
get it.
turbocharged
Crawfish.
four cylinders
my
and weak
sister would.
V6 engines could
But
somehow
my
replace
sister
the
had a
big block
1980s
thunder of the
Nova.
golden age.
I didn't
Number
want
12,
that son
the
of a gun.
1990
It was
Pontiac
an 80
Sunbird
something. I don't
GT.
remember. Might have been an 80. Maybe it was 86.
Pontiac had built its entire reputation
Anyway,
on performance, from the
I didn't
GTO
want
that invented the muscle car segment to to the Firebird Trans Am that defined an era. The Sunbird GT represented how far
Sunbird.
that proud heritage
No way.
had fallen by 1990. This was a compact economy car with a turbo badge and some ground effects. Pontiac's desperate attempt to convince buyers that a 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder could somehow deliver genuine performance excitement. Under the hood sat that 2.0-liter turbocharged inline four, producing 165 horsepower. The turbo lag was severe, creating a noticeable delay between throttle input and actual acceleration. Quarter-mile time stretched to approximately 16 seconds, making the Sunbird GT slower
Hey,
than
what
many
if
naturally
you put a
aspirated
new
V6
turbo in them
sedans
though, right?
from the same
One that
era.
doesn't lag.
0 to 60 acceleration required about 8.5 seconds. Adequate for merging, but hardly thrilling for anything wearing a GT badge and Pontiac emblems. The turbocharger itself was the car's defining feature and its greatest weakness. Below 3,000 RPM, the engine felt flat and unresponsive. Once the turbo finally spooled up, there was a sudden surge of power that felt dramatic, but was actually just the engine reaching its modest power peak. The exhaust note was muted and characterless, filtered through restrictive catalytic converters, and a muffler designed more for quietness than excitement. The transition between off-boost and full boost was abrupt and unpredictable, making smooth acceleration nearly impossible. Daily driving became an exercise in frustration as you waited for the turbo to wake up at every stoplight and intersection. The power delivery felt binary, either nothing or everything, with no progressive buildup that would allow for precise throttle control. Fuel economy suffered despite the small displacement,
Now
with most owners reporting figures in the low
bound to see
20s
the
due to the
Fiero on
constant
this
need to keep the
motherfucker
engine in
video.
its power band. The
Oh,
turbocharger
no, I didn't
required
have a
premium
turbo, did it?
fuel to avoid detonation, adding insult to injury for buyers who thought they were purchasing an economical sport coupe. Heat management was poor, with the turbo generating significant underhood temperatures that stressed other components and shortened their lifespan. The intercooler was undersized and inefficiently packaged, leading to heat soak during repeated acceleration runs. The boost control system was crude by modern standards, occasionally delivering inconsistent power levels that made the car feel even more unpredictable. The wastegate would occasionally stick or malfunction, either limiting boost pressure below the intended level or allowing
See, that's the great
dangerous
thing, Josh.
overboost
We
conditions.
could look up
Oil
trucks
consumption
with
increased as the turbo
There's some
aged,
badass
with many
trucks out there
examples requiring a
from
quart
the
between oil
80s
changes
and
by
90s.
50,000 miles. The handling was competent for an economy car, but nowhere near
Got
what
the
you'd expect from something
Cyclone.
claiming sporting intentions. The suspension was soft and
And then
compliant,
the Super Slim.
prioritizing ride comfort
There's a
over
couple
any
of
kind
them,
of
man.
dynamic
Lightning.
capability. Body roll was excessive in corners, the steering was over-assisted and numb, and the chassis never felt truly sorted or confidence-inspiring. Inside, the Sunbird GT attempted to create a sporting atmosphere with special trim and badging. The reality was typical General Motors parts bin assembly, with cheap plastics, uncomfortable seats that provided minimal support, and a dashboard that looked dated even when the car was new. Pontiac charged a premium for the GT package, but buyers received very little substance for their extra money beyond some appearance modifications and a temperamental turbocharger. Number 11, the 1991 Dodge Spirit RT. The Dodge Spirit RT represented Chrysler's attempt to create a sleeper sedan, an unassuming family car hiding serious turbocharged performance. On paper, the concept was brilliant. In execution, it became one of the most frustrating performance cars of the decade. The Spirit RT was fast when it worked, but it spent so much time broken or misbehaving that its performance potential became largely theoretical. The engine was Chrysler's 2.2-liter turbocharged inline four,
I don't know a whole
producing
lot about this
224
either.
horsepower, an impressive output for the displacement. Quarter-mile times could dip into the 15-second range when everything was working properly.
Anybody drive
0
one
to
of these
60
bad
acceleration
Mammy Dammers?
took about 6.5 seconds. Impressive for a front-wheel drive sedan. The problem wasn't the performance potential, but rather the complete inability to access that performance reliably. Turbo lag was significant, with a noticeable delay between pressing the throttle and receiving actual boost pressure. Once the turbo
Man,
spooled
if
up,
it
torque
didn't burn
steer
out
was
like that,
dramatic
I
and
wouldn't give a fuck
unsettling,
if that
with the
boost
steering wheel
lag.
jerking violently in your hands under hard acceleration.
See,
The 5-speed
boost lag don't
transmission,
mean a whole lot when
standard
you got
equipment in
a
most
stick
Spirit
shift
RT
anyway.
models,
You find
was
where it
poorly
kicks in at,
calibrated,
you rev
prone
it
to
up and
harsh
drop the
shifts,
clutch,
premature
baby.
failures.
Let it
The
rip.
transmission's
Crater
shift
chip.
points seemed chosen at random, sometimes holding gears far too long, and other times upshifting prematurely, just as boost was building. Kickdown response was sluggish and unpredictable, with the transmission often refusing to downshift when you needed power immediately for passing maneuvers. The torque converter would shudder during light throttle applications, creating an unpleasant vibration transmitted through the entire car. Transmission fluid temperatures would climb dangerously high during spirited driving, accelerating wear on internal components and shortening the unit's already brief lifespan. The shift quality deteriorated rapidly with age, developing increasingly harsh engagement and slippage between gears. Many Spirit RT transmissions failed catastrophically before 60,000 miles, leaving owners stranded with repair bills that often exceeded the car's value. The manual transmission option, while more engaging, featured a vague shifter with poorly defined gates and a heavy clutch that made city driving exhausting. Even the manual couldn't fully mask the turbo lag problem, as the narrow power band required constant gear changes to keep the engine on boost. The front-wheel drive layout meant that launching hard from a standstill resulted in excessive wheel spin and axle hop, putting tremendous stress on the drivetrain components. The differential was undersized for the power output and would whine and click prematurely, indicating imminent failure. Build quality was the Spirit RT's greatest weakness. Panel gaps varied wildly from one example to the next. Interior trim pieces fell off or rattled loose. Electrical systems were plagued by gremlins. The turbocharger itself was temperamental, requiring precise maintenance intervals and high-quality synthetic oil to survive. The interior was pure rental car grade Chrysler, with cheap plastics throughout, seats that provided minimal support, and a dashboard that looked like it came from a fleet vehicle. The materials wore terribly, with seat bolsters collapsing and dashboard plastics cracking within just a few years. Reliability issues extended beyond just the engine. The transmission would fail prematurely, often requiring replacement before 50,000 miles. The head gasket was prone to failure, leading to expensive repairs. The turbocharger itself would fail, sometimes catastrophically, sending metal shrapnel through the intake system. Today, surviving Spirit R/T examples are extraordinarily rare, not because they're collectible, but because most were driven into the ground and scrapped when repair costs exceeded their value. Number 10, the 1995 Chevrolet Lumina Z34. General Motors tried to convince America that the Lumina Z34 was a legitimate performance sedan, a front-wheel drive family car transformed into something exciting through aggressive styling and a powerful V6 engine. The reality was a heavy, nose-heavy sedan that looked far more aggressive than it actually performed. The engine was a 3.4-liter dual overhead cam V6, producing 210 horsepower, impressive numbers for a V6 of that era. Quarter-mile times hovered around 16 seconds. Adequate but hardly exciting for a car marketed as a performance machine. 0 to 60 acceleration took approximately 7.5 seconds. The engine note was coarse and uninspiring, with the V6 producing more noise than character at higher RPM. The dual overhead cam design suggested sophistication and high revving capability, but in practice, the engine felt breathless above 5,000 RPM. Throttle response was sluggish and delayed, with a noticeable lag between pedal input and any meaningful acceleration. The power band was narrow and peaky, requiring frequent downshifts to access what little performance was available. Vibration was noticeable at idle and became increasingly intrusive as engine speed climbed, transmitting through the steering wheel and seats. The intake system produced a hollow, synthetic sound under acceleration that fooled nobody into thinking this was a performance engine. Oil consumption became an issue as the engine aged, with many examples requiring regular top-offs between scheduled maintenance intervals. The valve train was noisy, producing a mechanical clatter that grew louder with mileage and suggested questionable durability. Fuel economy was disappointing despite the V6 configuration, with most owners reporting figures barely better than contemporary V8-powered muscle cars. The engine management system was crude, often delivering stumbles and hesitations during part throttle acceleration. Heat soak was a persistent problem, with the engine losing noticeable power after a few hard acceleration runs as intake temperatures climbed. The Lumina's greatest weakness was weight. At 3,400 pounds, the Z34 was simply too heavy for its available power. The weight was concentrated heavily over the front axle, creating terrible understeer in corners and a nose-heavy feel in all driving situations. The handling was wallowy and disconnected, with excessive body roll and steering that provided almost no feedback. The front-wheel drive layout meant significant torque steer under hard acceleration. The automatic transmission, the only option in the Lumina Z34, was poorly calibrated with slow, mushy shifts that sapped whatever performance potential the engine offered. Inside, the Lumina Z34 featured aggressive bucket seats with prominent bolstering. The reality was typical GM cost-cutting, with cheap plastics throughout, a dashboard that looked generic and dated, and materials that worked poorly even under normal use. Build quality was inconsistent, with some examples feeling reasonably solid, while others developed numerous rattles and squeaks. The exterior styling was the Lumina Z34's most successful element, and even that was questionable. The problem was that the styling wrote checks the chassis couldn't cash. The Lumina Z34 looked like it should be fast, like it should handle well. Instead, it delivered a disconnected, nose-heavy driving experience that felt more like an overweight economy car than anything approaching a genuine performance
those big six.
Number 9, the 1990 Mercury Cougar XR7.
Uh-oh, the Cougar. There's a Cougar in the front.
Mercury's Cougar had been many things throughout its history, but by 1990, it had become a bloated personal luxury coupe with supercharged pretensions.
I had a
The
Thunder Chicken
XR7
once.
variant featured a
It was a
supercharged
96
3.8-liter
Thunder Chicken.
V6, producing 210 horsepower.
Wasn't a bad
Numbers that
car.
sounded impressive but couldn't overcome the car's excessive weight and poor dynamics. The supercharged V6 provided adequate power with minimal lag. Quarter-mile times hovered around 15.5 seconds.
My Thunder
Respectable
Chicken
for a
even
heavy
had
luxury
a
coupe,
decal
but hardly
across the
impressive
windshield
for
that
anything
said
claiming performance credentials.
Thunder Chicken.
0 to 60 acceleration took approximately 7.5 seconds.
I swear
The
to God, it
supercharger
did.
whine was noticeable under
Oh,
hard
I'm not
acceleration,
making that up.
providing
It's
some
weird.
audible drama, even if actual performance was lacking. The chassis was tuned exclusively
Mine was
for comfort,
black.
with soft suspension that allowed
Yeah, of
massive
course,
body roll in corners.
decal was
The
white.
steering was over-assisted to
And
the
it
point
was
of being
like,
completely numb. The weight distribution was heavily
It was
front-biased,
like,
creating predictable understeer in any corner taken with enthusiasm.
It was like this.
The front struts would bottom out harshly over larger bumps, sending shudders through the entire structure,
call it more
making rough
fucking
roads
gothic,
almost unbearable.
but it was
The rear
involved.
suspension felt disconnected from the front, creating a disjointed
Except Thunder
sensation
Chicken.
where the back end seemed to be doing its own thing independently. Weight transfer during braking was pronounced and unsettling, with the nose diving dramatically and the rear lifting.
That car
to
reminded
reduce
me a
braking
lot of it.
effectiveness.
Only mine had
The shock
spoilers. It seemed
absorbers
like
were
it was a little bit
underdamped and
wider
wore
than
out
that
quickly,
car,
leading
too.
to a
Like maybe
bouncy,
it was a little white body
uncontrolled
style.
ride quality within just 30,000 miles.
And it
Push the
didn't have that
Cougar
funny ass
XR7
music.
into a corner with any speed and the tires would protest immediately, squealing in complaint long before reaching any meaningful lateral grip. Reliability was another significant issue. The supercharged V6 was prone to head gasket failures. The supercharger itself required regular maintenance and could
What up,
fail
Big Sid?
prematurely if service intervals weren't meticulously followed. The automatic transmission was the
Yeah,
only
you're
option
right,
and was
Slingo.
prone to harsh shifting and
You are
premature wear.
correct. My mom
Inside,
had a big
Mercury
old
attempted to create an
LTD, man.
upscale
That
luxury
thing would do
environment
burnout
with
surprises.
leather upholstery,
Had a
fake
big
wood
motor
trim,
in it, though.
and digital instrumentation.
I
The
can't
reality
tell
was
you what it
typical
was,
of
'cause
Ford
I don't
parts bin
remember.
assembly,
I'm
with
not big on
inconsistent
Ford
build
motors,
quality and materials that
but
were
I do
poor.
know it was a
The
big
digital
one, 'cause
dashboard
you
was
could get in there and
temperamental,
hold that
prone
brake
to
and rock that
partial
gas
or complete
full
failure.
and smoke
What
it
made the
up.
Cougar XR7 particularly disappointing was Mercury's insistence on positioning it as a performance luxury coupe when it excelled at neither mission. Insurance companies didn't even classify the Cougar XR7 as a performance risk, a telling indication of
I
how
had
little respect the
66
car
New Yorker,
commanded.
too, when I was
Number 8, the
my mom.
1992 Dodge Shadow ESA. Chrysler's K-Car platform spawned numerous variants throughout the
I
1980s
remember
and
that
early
thing.
90s, and the Shadow ES represented one of the company's attempts to create something sporty from fundamentally economy car bones. The
They had a
turbocharged
four-door one of those
2.2-liter
too,
inline
man.
4 produced
I wanna say
150
they did.
horsepower, adequate power for a light car,
Remember the Ford
but hampered by
Festiva?
turbo lag,
Little
torque
roller
steer,
skate.
and the Shadow's fundamentally compromised dynamics. Quarter-mile times hovered around 16 seconds. 0 to 60 acceleration took approximately 7.5 seconds when everything was working properly. The turbocharger created significant lag below 3,000 RPM, making the car feel sluggish in normal driving. Once boost pressure built, acceleration was adequate, but accompanied by dramatic torque steer that made the steering wheel jerk violently in your hands. The suspension was barely upgraded from the base Shadow, resulting in a car that handled like the economy vehicle it fundamentally was. Body roll was excessive, the steering was over-assisted and numb, and the overall chassis balance was compromised by the nose-heavy weight distribution. Build quality was typical Chrysler K-car derivative, which is to say, poor. Panel gaps were inconsistent, interior trim pieces rattled and fell off, and the overall construction felt flimsy and cheap. The interior featured hard plastics throughout, seats that provided minimal support, and a dashboard that looked generic and dated. Reliability issues were common, particularly with the turbocharged engine. The head gasket was prone to failure. The turbocharger could fail prematurely, and the automatic transmission was temperamental and prone to harsh shifting. Many Shadow ES models developed significant rust within just a few years of ownership. What made the Shadow ES particularly disappointing was how little Chrysler invested in actually making it a proper performance car. The turbo engine was borrowed from other applications with minimal optimization for the Shadow platform. Today, surviving Shadow ES examples are extraordinarily rare, with most having been driven into the ground and scrapped when repair costs exceeded their minimal value. Number 7, the 1993 Ford Thunderbird LX. The Thunderbird nameplate had meant something special throughout Ford's history, from the two-seat sports car of the 50s to the NASCAR dominance of the 60s and 70s. By 1993, that proud heritage had been reduced to a bloated, underpowered personal luxury coupe. The base LX model, with its 3.8-liter V6, producing just 140 horsepower, represented the absolute nadir of the Thunderbird's decline. Quarter-mile times stretched to approximately 17 seconds, making the Thunderbird LX slower than many four-cylinder economy cars. 0 to 60 acceleration required over 10 seconds. The V6 engine felt perpetually overworked, constantly operating near its power peak just to maintain highway speeds. The engine note was coarse and uninspiring, more industrial buzz than anything resembling character. The Thunderbird's most significant problem was weight. At over 3,500 pounds, the LX was simply too heavy for its meager power output. The suspension tuning prioritized ride comfort over everything else, resulting in excessive body roll, wallowing motion over bumps, and steering that was so over-assisted it provided zero feedback. The automatic transmission was the only option and featured sluggish, mushy shifts that further compromised performance. The gear ratios seemed optimized for fuel economy rather than performance, leaving the engine laboring in its least efficient RPM ranges during normal driving. Inside, Ford attempted to create a luxury atmosphere with velour upholstery, fake wood trim, and digital instrumentation. The reality was typical early 90s Ford, with cheap plastics, materials that wore poorly, and build quality that varied wildly. The digital dashboard was prone to partial failures, leaving drivers without functioning gauges. The exterior styling was anonymous and forgettable, with soft, rounded lines that looked generic, even when the car was new. The Thunderbird LX looked like a rental car, moved like a rental car, and felt like a rental car. There was nothing special about it despite the legendary name. Number 6, the 1990 Pontiac Grand Prix STE Turbo. Pontiac's attempts to maintain some performance credibility in the early 1990s led to some genuinely questionable decisions. The Grand Prix STE Turbo represented one of the most misguided. Here was a front-wheel drive family sedan with a turbocharged V6, a combination that sounds interesting on paper, but was compromised in execution by turbo lag, poor reliability, and dynamics that never felt sorted. The 3.1-liter turbocharged V6 produced 205 horsepower. Quarter-mile times hovered around 16 seconds. 0 to 60 acceleration took approximately 7 seconds when everything was working properly. The problem was that everything was rarely working properly.
Yes,
the turbo lag was so severe that the car felt sluggish in normal driving. Despite its paper specifications, below 3,000 RPM, the engine was flat and unresponsive. Once the turbo finally spooled up, there was a sudden surge of power accompanied by dramatic torque steer that made the steering wheel jerk violently. The front-wheel drive platform was properly engineered to handle the torque output. Reliability was terrible. The turbocharged V6 was prone to head gasket failures. The turbocharger itself required meticulous maintenance and often failed prematurely. The automatic transmission was poorly calibrated for the turbocharged engine's power delivery, resulting in harsh shifts and premature wear. The cooling system was marginally adequate at best, with the engine prone to overheating during hard use or hot weather. The suspension tuning was a compromise that succeeded at nothing. Pontiac tried to balance ride comfort with sporting dynamics, and ended up with a car that rode harshly over bumps while still exhibiting excessive
Well, it's
body
been a
roll in
long time.
corners. The overall chassis behavior was disconnected and imprecise, never inspiring confidence. Inside, the Grand Prix STE Turbo featured Pontiac's typical early 90s interior design with cheap plastics throughout. Pontiac charged a significant premium for the STE Turbo package,
My
but the
Thunder
actual
Chicken had
value
a
delivered
system
didn't
in it.
justify the cost.
My Honda
Today,
Civic,
surviving examples are
all my Honda
extraordinarily
Civics
rare,
had systems
with
in it.
most having been scrapped due to mechanical failure.
I never did anything
Number
great
5,
big.
the
I
1991
didn't
Dodge
want-
Daytona
Too many
IROC
people
RT.
got robbed. Now that's a bad way to just put it up there.
Chrysler's attempts to maintain the Daytona nameplate's performance credibility resulted in some genuinely questionable vehicles.
I always thought those
and
were
the
cool for some reason.
IRO-CRT variant represented perhaps the most compromised. Here was a car wearing badges that suggested serious performance capability, powered by a turbocharged engine that produced impressive numbers on paper, but plagued by reliability issues so severe that its performance potential became largely theoretical.
I always thought those would be
2.2-liter
cool with a
turbocharged
V8 in the
inline
middle.
4 produced 224 horsepower. Quarter-mile times could dip into the 15-second range when everything was functioning correctly. 0 to 60 acceleration took approximately 6 seconds, competitive with more expensive sports cars. The problem was that achieving these performance figures required everything to be working perfectly, which was rarely the case. Turbo lag was significant, creating a noticeable dead spot below 3,000 RPM, where the engine felt completely gutless. Once boost pressure built, acceleration was dramatic, but accompanied by severe torque steer that made the car feel unstable and difficult to control. Reliability was the Daytona IROC RT's greatest weakness. The turbocharged engine required meticulous
What
maintenance with
makes you wanna
synthetic
go to
oil
work?
and frequent service intervals. Many owners didn't follow these requirements, leading to premature
try
turbo
out
failures,
some work?
head gasket problems, and complete engine failures. The automatic transmission was poorly calibrated and prone to harsh shifting and premature wear. The chassis was based on Chrysler's aging K-car platform, and it showed. The suspension tuning was barely upgraded from economy car specification,
What are you gonna
resulting
do
in
if
excessive
you're
body roll
up?
and poor weight transfer management.
What are you gonna do
The
tomorrow?
overall chassis behavior never inspired confidence. Inside, the Daytona IROC RT
You know anything
featured
about putting
Chrysler's
down
typical late 80s
planners?
interior design, with hard plastics throughout and a dashboard that felt cheap and poorly assembled. Build quality was inconsistent, with significant rattles and squeaks developing quickly. The digital instrumentation was temperamental and
Yeah,
prone
but
to
it's not
failure.
playing
What made the
systems.
Daytona
Well,
IROC
yeah.
RT particularly tragic
But
was the
that's-
wasted potential. When everything was working, this was a genuinely
gotta
quick
take the
car.
toilet
The
out.
problem was that everything was
gotta
rarely
take the
working,
stink
and the
out.
constant mechanical
God.
issues destroyed any enjoyment the performance might
Down
have
for
provided.
that?
Number 4, the 1995 Chevrolet Monte
Damn.
Carlo Z34. The Monte Carlo nameplate returned in
You guys look like you're
1995
working
after a
a lot.
several-year hiatus,
We're not
and
even
enthusiasts
doing it. We're
hoped
just talking
Chevrolet
about
had
it, bro.
learned from past
Yeah, but
mistakes.
do you even have
The
a
Z34 variant promised
lunch break?
sporting
What is
performance
that?
through a powerful dual-cam V6
Why did you
and
use
aggressive
it to go to
styling.
recess?
What buyers received
No,
instead was
I
a heavy,
take a
nose-heavy front-wheel drive coupe that prioritized appearance over actual capability.
Whoa,
The
what are you
3.4-liter
doing?
dual overhead cam V6 produced
Like, to
210
do all
horsepower.
that stuff, you need
Quarter-mile
a break.
times hovered around
Yeah.
16 seconds.
What's the
0 to
what are you gonna
60
do on break?
acceleration
Eat a
took
snack?
approximately 7.5
Yeah,
seconds.
like you can read
The engine delivered power smoothly
Oh, you
across
want
its
to have
rev
a
range,
picnic at
but
work?
there simply wasn't enough of it to overcome the
know
Monte
what you're up
Carlo's
to.
3,500-pound curb weight. The Monte Carlo Z34's greatest weakness was its front-heavy weight distribution
Chocolate
and
bars?
compromised chassis dynamics. At least 60% of the car's weight sat over the front axle, creating severe understeer
That's
in
all right.
any corner taken with enthusiasm.
And
The
I'm
suspension
not
tuning
like
attempted to balance comfort and performance,
a
but succeeded at neither.
Mr.
Torque steer under hard
Yeah, it's
acceleration was
You
noticeable.
got work clothes?
The automatic transmission was the only option
I got
and featured
jeans,
slow, indistinct shifts
but
that sapped whatever performance potential the engine offered.
I have
Manual
a
downshifts
shirt
through the
what
gear
I
selector
like.
were possible, but responded
This
slowly
shirt
and
is
unpredictably.
really old.
Inside, the Monte Carlo
old
Z34
shirt?
Yeah.
attempted to create a sporting
What about
atmosphere
boots?
with
Got
bucket
boots?
seats and special gauges. The reality was typical mid-90s GM cost-cutting with hard plastics throughout. The bucket seats looked aggressive but provided mediocre lateral support in practice. The exterior styling was the Monte Carlo Z34's
I
most
forgot.
distinctive element,
My bad.
featuring aggressive
They're
lower
too
body
tight.
cladding, a prominent
Too
rear
small.
spoiler, and hood vents. The overall design was polarizing. Regardless of personal taste,
My
the
boy said
styling
he's
wrote
got some
checks
shit
the
kicking
chassis
you, Joe.
couldn't cash. Promising performance, the car couldn't deliver. Number
You
3,
don't
the
have boots.
1990 Ford Mustang LX 2.3.
Hey, thanks, Josh, for hanging out, bro.
The Fox body Mustang platform was legendary by 1990, having spawned genuinely impressive performance variants like the 5.0 LX and the turbocharged SVO. The base model, LX, with its 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine, represented the opposite end of the spectrum, a Mustang so slow and uninspiring that it damaged the nameplate's credibility. The 2.3-liter inline four-cylinder engine produced just 105 horsepower. Quarter-mile time stretched to approximately 18 seconds, making the base LX slower than virtually any vehicle with sporting potential. 0 to 60 acceleration required over 11 seconds. The engine note was buzzy and unpleasant, producing mechanical thrashing sounds rather than anything resembling character. The four-cylinder engine struggled to move the Mustang's 2,800-pound curb weight with any sense of urgency. Highway merging required extensive planning and a long acceleration line. Under hard acceleration, the four-cylinder would buzz unpleasantly while delivering minimal forward progress. The chassis dynamics offered no compensation for the dismal powertrain. The car exhibited excessive body roll in corners, the steering was over-assisted and numb, and the overall chassis balance felt compromised. Everything about the driving experience felt cheap and unfinished. Inside, the base LX featured Ford's typical late Fox body interior with hard plastics throughout, basic cloth seats that provided minimal support, and a dashboard that looked dated even in 1990. Ford charged a significant premium for the Mustang name, but base LX buyers received almost nothing to justify that cost. What made the base LX particularly frustrating was the existence of genuinely good Mustangs on the same platform. The 5.0 LX with its V8 engine was a legitimate performance car, affordable and capable. Today, four-cylinder Fox body Mustangs have almost no collector interest, overshadowed completely by their V8 siblings. Number 2, the 1994 Pontiac Firebird 5.6. The fourth-generation Firebird arrived in 1993 with stunning styling that looked like nothing else on American roads. The sleek, aerodynamic body suggested serious performance capability, and the Trans Am and Formula variants delivered on that promise with their V8 engine. The base V6 model, however, represented a profound disappointment. The 3.4-liter V6 produced 160 horsepower, enough to move the Firebird's 3,300-pound curb weight, but not enough to do it with any enthusiasm. Quarter-mile time stretched to approximately 17 seconds, making the base Firebird slower than numerous four-cylinder sport cars from Japan. 0 to 60 acceleration required over 9 seconds. The V6 engine felt perpetually overworked, constantly operating near its power peak to deliver even modest acceleration. The engine note was coarse and uninspired. There was no exhaust rumble, no mechanical drama, just a buzzy industrial sound that reminded you this was an economy engine in a performance car's body. The chassis represented the only bright spot. The fourth-generation Firebird platform featured genuinely modern suspension design with fully independent rear suspension. The steering offered reasonable feedback. A skilled driver could extract some enjoyment from the Firebird 5.6 through twisty roads, even if the engine couldn't provide any thrills. The problem was that the Firebird's stunning exterior styling created expectations the V6 powertrain could never meet. This was one of the most aggressive, purposeful-looking cars on American roads.
Hey, that
then
looks like
you'd
my car.
drive it and discover an engine that barely made more power than a contemporary Camry. The disconnect between appearance and reality was so profound, it felt like a betrayal. Inside, the Firebird attempted to create a cockpit atmosphere with its distinctive wraparound
My
dashboard.
formula was
The reality was
shit, I
typical
love that car. I
GM
don't care what
cost-cutting,
they say.
with hard plastics throughout. The seats looked aggressive, but provided mediocre support and practice. What made the Firebird 5.6 particularly frustrating was the knowledge that genuine performance was available in the same basic package. The V8-powered Trans Am and Formula variants were genuinely quick cars. Today, V6 fourth-generation Firebirds have minimal collector interest, completely overshadowed by their V8 siblings. Number 1, the 1994 Chevrolet Camaro V6.
I feel like I'm gonna sneeze.
Taking the top spot on our list is the 1994 Chevrolet Camaro V6 and that placement reflects just how completely this car betrayed its own heritage. The fourth generation Camaro arrived with stunning styling that suggested genuine performance capability. But the base V6 model delivered an experience so underwhelming, it remains embarrassing 3 decades later. The 3.4-liter V6 produced 160 horsepower, barely adequate for moving the Camaro's 3,300-pound curb weight. Quarter-mile time stretched to approximately 17 seconds, making the base Camaro slower than contemporary 4-cylinder sport coupes from Honda, Toyota, and Nissan. 0 to 60 acceleration required over 9 seconds. The engine note was the final insult. The 1994 V6 sounded coarse and uninspiring. There was no rumble, no thunder, just industrial thrashing that reminded you this was an economy engine struggling to move a performance car's body. The chassis showed genuine promise that the powertrain completely squandered. The fourth generation Camaro platform featured modern suspension design. With independent rear suspension, the steering offered decent feedback, the chassis balance was neutral. The problem was that without adequate power, all of that chassis sophistication went largely unused. The most tragic aspect of the Camaro V6 was its stunning exterior design. The fourth generation body style was dramatic and purposeful, with aggressive styling that looked fast standing still. Then you'd drive it and discover that all of that visual drama was completely hollow. Style without substance, appearance without reality. Inside, the Camaro featured GM's typical mid-90s interior design with hard plastics throughout. The seats looked sporty, but provided mediocre lateral support. The dashboard featured distinctive styling, with the gauge cluster integrated into the center stack. Visibility was poor due to the low seating position and thick pillars. What makes the 1994 Camaro V6 the worst muscle car of the 1990s is the complete package of disappointment. From the stunning styling that created impossible expectations to the underwhelming powertrain that could never meet those expectations. This was a car that should have been special, that looked special, that wore one of the most legendary nameplates in American automotive history. The V6 Camaro existed primarily as a price leader, entry point into Camaro ownership for buyers who couldn't afford the V8 models. The problem was that the V6 powertrain was so inadequate that it made the entire package feel like a fraud. The car's dramatic appearance created expectations it could never fulfill. Today, V6 fourth generation Camaros have minimal collector interest, completely overshadowed by the Z28 and SS variants that actually delivered the performance their appearance promised. The 1994 Camaro V6 deserves its place at the top of this list because it represents the greatest disconnect between appearance and reality. The most profound betrayal of nameplate heritage. The 1990s promised a performance renaissance after the darkness of the malaise era, and by the end of the decade, that promise was largely fulfilled. But the early and mid-90s were filled with missteps and disappointments. These 12 cars represent the bottom of that barrel. Legendary nameplates attached to underwhelming vehicles, aggressive styling wrapped around disappointing powertrains. Which of these disappointing machines do you remember? Drop your stories in the comments below, and if you love honest automotive history, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, remember that even in the worst cars, there are lessons about what makes the great ones truly special.
All right. Well, it's 3 hours of couple hours of cars. Oh man, this is a good one, guys. I gotta save this one. 48 most dangerous muscle cars of all time. We're gonna have to come back and watch this one on a different day. Man, that's there's one you'll like, Chaotic. Yep. If you want the older ones, anyway. You have a 97 RS Camaro 30th anniversary. That's what's up, Slinko. Hey, you guys heard it. You're my witness. Minnie said he came in here and said he wanted to go to work with me in the morning. He said he was going to help me work. I think he was more interested in when we was going to eat, but We got past that too. Kids crazy. I'm gonna play this here song, guys, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Let's see, where is it at? There it is.
Yeah. The Snuggie Life chose me. I chose Lucky
Ay, woke up, stretched out, what's the plan for the day? Looked at the clock, then I threw it away. No pants, no shoes, no shirt, no stress. Just this fleece blanket of pure success. It's not backwards, man, that's a rookie mistake. It's a wearable hug for goodness sake. A hooded contraption, sleeves wide and deep. A Snuggie baby while the city's asleep. Flipping channels, zero gravity lean. Grab the Maui while we make the whole scene green. I got the munchies, I got the heat. I'll anchor down in this ultimate retreat. The remote's stuck in my sleeve, and that's fine, cause the vibe is perfect. Everything's divine, everything's divine. Cause the vibe is more sesh, yeah, we making a mess. Old school flavor, putting life to the test. Nugget on the sofa, I'm a permanent guest. Acapulco gold is the bomb in my chest. Got the sleeves up high, like a superhero's cape. I'm the king of comfort, out of shape. Out of shape, I'm the chillest dude alive. Let's stay inside till 2035. Hear that knock, knock, nope, don't care who it is. I'm locked in the zone, handling my biz. My business is bliss, my work is to chill. Grinding up goods with dedicated skill. From the West Coast legend to the mountain high peak. Gotta roll up a fatty, gotta hear that thing speak. Remember Northern Lights, it's a stellar sensation. The one-hit wonder for deep meditation. Spilling the popcorn, what's a little crumb trail? This Snuggie's built tough, it's designed not to fail. My mind's doing yoga while I'm playing the game. Man, this level of cozy should be totally ashamed. I got the munchies, I got the heat. I make it down in this ultimate retreat. The remote's stuck in my sleeve, and that's fine, cause the vibe is fun. Smoke sesh, yeah, we making a mess. Old school flavor, putting life to the test. Nuggie on the sofa, I'm a permanent guest. Acapulco gold is the bomb in my chest. Got the sleeves up high, like a superhero's cape. I'm the king of comfort, out of shape. Out of shape, I'm the chillest dude alive. Let's stay inside till 23 fade. When the world gets loud and the pressure starts to mount, I just shrug in my snug. That's what life is about. The only thing that's moving is the smoke in the air. Original haze gives a psychedelic stare. I'm a burrito with pure happiness. What you gonna do? I'm cozy, I'm flying, I'm waiting on you. Smoke sesh, yeah, we making a mess. Old school flavor, putting life to the test. Nuggie on the sofa, I'm a permanent guest. Acapulco gold is the bomb in my chest. Got the sleeves up high, like a superhero's cape. I'm the king of comfort, out of shape. Out of shape, I'm the chillest dude alive. Let's stay inside till 2035. Yeah, the Snuggie Life chose me. Snuggie Life chose us. Don't even bother with pants. Here to help. Skunk number one next. Peace out 2035. 30, 30, 30.
Where'd you go, Nuggie?
Right here. It's too
Hey, man.
personal.
I appreciate everybody hanging out, man. That was cool. Something different. I love car history. I love anything cars. Maybe we get some drag racing on here. That's my
I
absolute
like drag
favorite.
racing. I love drag racing.
Maybe some old school, right? Like you guys down with some old school drag racing, like some.
I've never really watched it, but I'm sure I am.
Like when I say old school, I'm like maybe like 70s. I like the 70s because that's when you had a lot of pro stock cars. You had a lot of the funny cars, you know, like when they first came about. I don't know if that's when they first came about, but that's when they were big popular. Hell yeah, Slingo.
Drag racing.
All right, guys, I'm gonna hit an end to this live stream. and I'm gonna stop in at Triple T's, say what's up, and then I'm probably gonna call it a night. What's up, bud?
It says he live.
Yes, he is. So I'm gonna stop in and say hey, and then I'm gonna probably turn in for the night. Especially if I gotta take Minnie to work with me. Oh, you missed it. Old Minnie came in here all full of ideas about he's going to work with me tomorrow, and he needs to know when lunch break is and if we take any breaks. And I'm like, it sounds like
shit. At least he's wasn't gonna work. Fuck.
I was like, sounds like you just worried about the food, bro.
Of course he is.
He's like, you gotta wake me up, okay, Dad? And I'm like, yeah. You want me to wake you up in time to eat breakfast? Because, I like to eat breakfast before I go to work. He says, yeah, I'll take some of that Casey's pizza. I was like, oh, I'm so sick of that stuff. How about some toaster strudels? Yeah, I like that idea, he says. I figured he would. Hey, then he said he's going to bring some chocolate bars to work with him in case he needs a boost of energy. He's something. But anyway, I'll see you guys. Thank you. Hey, we will be live, Muddy Traits, tomorrow night. Jamming on that car ride home. We'll see you guys. Peace.
I love fishy. Hey, Larry, get over here and help me. Look, Mom and Dad, I'm Super Finn, the greatest of all time.